All right. What is going on to all my Batman DC fans out there? Happy Sunday, March 6th. It seems like this has been a long time coming. The Batman was, I think, first announced, I want to say 2018. We got a little bit of, that little trailer that Matt put together in 2019, got delayed, this, that, and the other. And here we are, the weekend of the Batman, and I am so excited to be here with you all talking about it. We're going to dive into it. We're going to talk about the characters, the twists, the turns, the possibility of a sequel, the ending of the film, and of course, who's our favorite Batman after this film. We're going to have so many great discussions, and I have an amazing guest that's going to be joining us here in a little bit to talk about everything the Batman, DC, and beyond. So I'm really excited to be here with you all in this spoiler discussion. Again, full spoilers. If you haven't seen the Batman, what are you doing? Go check it out. It is 3 hours, so go ahead and carve those 3 hours out to enjoy this film. And when you do, you can watch on the replay and, of course, join us in the comment section. But before we get into all of it, welcome to the stream. Before we dive into it, make sure you're liking this stream, sharing it to all the Batman DC fans you know out there, and of course, leave your thoughts in the chat. We'll try to attend to them if we can, if it weaves into the conversation that we're having, and we'll try to have that conversation with you all watching this on the live stream and, of course, on the replay. So with all that being said, let me bring in the Justice Leagues, I guess we can call them that since we're talking DC. Bringing in this first young lady here. I love talking Marvel with her, but we really don't get to talk that much DC. Every now and then we do, but we're finally here. We're finally here. 2022 is the year of DC, with obviously Peacemaker earlier this year, this film, and so many other projects coming this year. And I'm so excited to have her on talking about the Batman. I'm talking about the one and only Amanda. What is going on?
Hey, I'm so excited to be here. And like DC, man, like
we're rising. We are rising.
We are rising. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be here. This movie was just aces, so I'm excited to talk about it.
So much to digest with this film. I did get the opportunity to see it twice today, and you pick up on more things you maybe didn't catch the first time. So with all that, Amanda, so excited to have you on again. We talk Marvel all the time. All last year it was Marvel. But now we're talking some DC and talking about maybe the most prized character in the DC catalog in the Batman. So Amanda, you've been on the channel multiple times, but just in case it's someone's first time watching, who are you and where can the wonderful people find your amazing content?
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's always good to be back. So you guys can always follow me over at AMX NDA Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. I do movie reviews, TV reviews, a sprinkle of Oscar coverage whenever it comes around. And I just have my Batman review up on my YouTube channel, Candid Cinema. And tomorrow I have my Turning Red review dropping at 9 a.m. Eastern on my website, candidcinema.com. There's a little bit of everything. So you can follow me there for my rants and just me loving Batman until Moon Knight comes out, basically.
It's so funny how the world works, to have the Batman and Moon Knight come out in the same month. As a lot of people compare Moon Knight to Marvel's version of the Dark Knight. So weird how Marvel and DC somehow make those things happen. But so excited to hear your thoughts on Turning Red tomorrow, man, because I've heard some good things about it, and I know it's a Disney Plus exclusive, so I'm really excited to check out your review on that. So guys, you heard her. Links in the bio. Check her out on her YouTube, her Instagram, or Twitter, and of course her wonderful website. She has a lot of great takes, some hot takes, and I'm excited to hear some of those takes today with this film. But Amanda, we've had this gentleman on our Marvel discussion. Again, we were talking Marvel all last year, but this guy, he's a comic geek. He talks Marvel, DC, more independent comic books, and so much more, and just has such a great time doing so. Not only does he have his great YouTube channel, but he has an amazing TikTok, an incredible community that he's building. And I'm just so excited to hear his thoughts about the Batman. I'm talking about the one and only Michael from Black Gay Comic Geek. What's up, man?
Hey. Oh, wow. I'm like super red. What is going on? Let me move these. There we go. That looks better.
It works.
Like, Mike, how are we doing, man? It's been a minute, man.
It's been a while, but I'm so glad to be back on the show to talk DC this time.
Man. Yes.
On the show. Like this year is how it should be. Marvel and DC going on pretty much at the same time. And I have like a whole amalgam universe, which is the combination of the two. So yeah, I'm excited to be here to talk the Batman. I would say we're more the Bat family than the Justice League.
There you go. There you go, man. So I'm I'm wondering when we get our next guest in here, I guess we'll have to assign roles. Who's Batman? Who's Batgirl? Who's
Well, it's your show.
Red Hood? Who's Alfred?
You got us all together. You're the Batman.
This is gonna be
Okay,
spicy.
we'll figure it out. But Michael, man, again, I always love having you on, man. And if this is the first time people are seeing you, let them know who you are, where they can find you, and what is so incredible about Black Gay Comic Geek and Michael.
Well, hey, how's it going? My name is Michael, Black Gay Comic Geek. I always say things I love to talk about in my fantasy and on my channel has blood, sex, gore, magic, or any variation of the four. So yeah, I like talk superheroes, video games, comic books, fantasy, sci-fi. And of course, if you couldn't tell, I like to talk Black representation and queer representation because I am both. And so yeah, if that's something that you're interested in, definitely pull up on my YouTube channel. I also have a TikTok. Follow me on all social medias, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, all of it. And if I was responsible, like Amanda, I would have watched Turning Red to put out my review because I got a screener for it. But I did not read the email, and I didn't know there was an expiration date on the email. So I tried to watch it last night, only to find out that it expired 3 days ago. So I'm a terrible person. So I'm gonna have to wait until it actually comes out on Disney Plus. But
it's rough.
So what you're telling us, Michael, if you were in the Batman universe and the Riddler were giving you clues and stuff, you would miss the fine print, and like you got XYZ amount of time to figure it out.
Yeah, Gotham would have been destroyed if it was up to me. Like
Gotcha, man. Well, I'm pretty sure with your comic book knowledge, you would have been able to handle the Riddler pretty easily if you asked me. But guys, this is Michael. Again, his links are in the bio. An incredible YouTube, phenomenal Instagram, has an incredible following across all his social media accounts. So definitely check him out. Now, our next guest here is a little bit of a masked individual. He doesn't have his face on screen yet because he's in the Batmobile driving to the Batcave. So he's going to be joining us live in the flesh. But right now we have his voice. I'm going to bring in, and when you hear the voice, the guy's energy is off the chain. We've had him on the channel before. I'm so excited to hear his thoughts on the Batman and so much more. So he is driving, so bear with him, but he is the Batman, so he can multitask like the Batman. I'm talking about the one and only KolbyMac. What's going on, man?
Yo, what up?
Oh, there he is. There
I go. Yo, what up? It's your boy KolbyMac, and I am finally back on Movie Files.
Yes, sir. Yes, so it is so good to have you, man. Again,
Dwayne Johnson, The Rock.
I know it's the Dwayne Johnson. The people have come. I'm so happy to have you, Kolby. Again, I know you're driving the Batmobile. You just saved Gotham. You're going back to your Batcave. But if you want to let the fine folks at home know that can hear your voice, who are you, Kolby, and where can the people find you?
Yeah, you can follow your boy. I am on all the socials at Kolby Told Me. That's KolbyTold me. I am the most subjectively objective film critic in the game. When I'm in the mood to write, you can check out the website at mreportpod.com, where myself, my Puerto Rican best friend, and our other Egyptian friend get together at Minorities Report, and we pretty much talk film and TV through a colorful perspective, and catch the podcast too while you're there. The Kolby Told Me podcast, I swear, it's coming back soon. It's taken a hiatus for like the past 2 years, but divorce will do that to you. Definitely, follow your boy. I am everywhere and active, and so when they ask where you heard it from, you can tell them Kolby told me.
You heard it. You heard it here first, guys. Kolby, Amanda, and Michael's links are in the bio. Definitely check them out. These people are not only amazing individuals, but the content is fire. So it's just a win-win. So why not just go ahead and support them because they're awesome people. So listen, Amanda, I want to start with you first because we talk DC a lot, and this is the first time we're really kind of diving deep into a DC film with all the chaos. The DC universe has been around, since 2013, which is crazy. So we still don't have a Man of Steel sequel. But Amanda, expectations. Now, this is our first Batman film in theater since 2012. We obviously know Ben Affleck with the BVS, Suicide Squad cameo, Joss Whedon's Justice League, the right version of the Batman with Zack Snyder, and obviously that didn't work out. And here we are a couple years later. Robert Pattinson's announced to play the Dark Knight. Matt Reeves going to be directing this thing, and we have an incredible cast surrounding them. But what were your anticipation levels? What was your excitement level when it came to the Batman?
I watched the trailer. I think the trailer really did it for me because when I heard Robert Pattinson as Batman, that just did not sell it for me whatsoever. I didn't picture him as Bruce Wayne. It just didn't click for me. But the first trailer, watching him in the suit, hearing that sound design, it just looks so good. And then leading up to it, I just got more hyped. But yeah, I kept my expectations low because you never know. You never know that it could be disappointing, but this exceeded my expectations. So it's good to keep the bar low going into something, you know what I mean? Because if it doesn't hit, it's not a perfect movie in my opinion, but it did its job. It did something different and unique, which I totally respect. And Robert Pattinson will grow on me. I'll get into that a bit later. But yeah.
Okay. Well, Michael, tossing to you. Amanda says she came in with a little bit lower expectations because again, we know DC hit or miss for some people, especially when they don't give the creators their full vision. But it looks like from everything we heard behind the scenes and after the film's been out that Matt Reeves was able to do what he wanted to initially do when he came up with his pitch, when he didn't want to do the Ben Affleck film. So same question to you, Mike. Expectations. Were you expecting it to be Dark Knight, 2008 level, or just something unique and different, noir, Batman? What were you expecting to get with this film?
I honestly didn't know what to expect going into this movie. Like I tried to keep my expectations. I didn't keep them low, but they were at like a little mid-range level because I don't know. And even still after this movie, like I don't know what the fuck is going on with the DC universe right now because Ben Affleck's not Batman anymore, so they're rebooting the whole Batman universe with Matt Reeves, and then Robert Pattinson was Batman, and I'm like, what the hell is going on with this? But then we still don't know what's going on with a Man of Steel 2, but they're introducing a Batgirl that doesn't connect to this Batman, and then they're introducing a Supergirl that's not connecting to Henry Cavill. So I was like, I don't know what's going on. So I'm like really tempering my expectations with regards to this movie. But like Amanda said, it wasn't really until I saw that trailer that I was like, oh, I am liking what I'm seeing here. Like it really gives me like a little bit of like the Arkham City game vibes. And then also when I heard that this was going to be like really the first like detective Batman movie, which is something we've never, like out of all the Batman properties that we've gotten since Adam West, we've never really seen the world's greatest detective, which is what Batman is known for. Our Batman disappeared. There we go.
We're good.
But yeah, we've never really got like to see like the world's greatest detective, one of the smartest men in the entire DC universe. Like even in like Nolan's The Dark Knight trilogy, most of his gadgets were made by Lucius Fox, not from him. So finding out that we were finally gonna get like the kind of comic accurate Bruce Wayne, the smart detective, that's what got me like hyped and excited. So I, that at least raised my expectations a little bit regarding this movie. So I forgot what the other question was.
Well, no, I mean, you answered it perfectly as far as like what you were hoping to see. And of course, we'll get into what we ultimately got. But it sounds like you had your bar was a little bit higher than Amanda's. Of course, like you had mentioned with all the turmoil and the confusion with the universe, we got 3 Batmans. And I mean, we're going to get 3 Batmans this year alone. So just kind of talk more about that confusion. But Kolby, man, same question for you, man, in regards to just kind of, the fandom, where you were coming from as a Batman fan and what, there he is. Let's solo him right quick so you guys can see him. There he is.
The unmasking.
There he is, the truth unmasked, the man behind the camera. Kolby, man, again, question to you is, what were you hoping to get with this film, knowing that Pattinson was going to be in the role? And of course, we'll get into, were you the whole Twilight Pattinson, can he do it? Or, were you more of like the Pattinson Rover, Good Times actor? And then of course, what you were hoping to get from Matt Reeves directing this film as well.
# restore the Snyderverse. Not because I enjoy this movie, not because this movie didn't exceed my expectations. I am surprised how delighted I am with this film, especially because going in with it, I was not sold on Robert Pattinson being Batman. I wasn't sold on where this film fits in a direction overarching for the entirety of like the DCEU, right? I'm not going to call it rudderless, but it's just I felt like with the Snyderverse, I had a sense of where we could go. And then as WB, and they still have not said, outside of like not hiring him to do anything else, they have not said we no longer want to continue Zach's vision. It's just like, let's move this away, but we're going to keep some of the stuff that we like from Zach's vision. So I feel really like I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, because I love this Wonder Woman movie that Zach had a heavy hand in making happen. I love this Aquaman, not the Aquaman movie. I like the Aquaman movie, but
It's
I love
fun.
Aquaman.
It's a fun film.
Like, we gotta admit, it's one of the best casted, like, franchises, like everything we've seen so far. Henry Cavill as Superman. It took me a while to come around to Ben Affleck as Batman until I saw Ben Affleck as Batman. And with this film, at the end of it, is Robert Pattinson my Batman? No, but I think when it comes to DC more so than Marvel, your entry point with these characters matters so much. As an 80s baby and a 90s kid, Kevin Conroy is my Batman. So going into Matt Reeves' film, I treated this film as an Elseworld story, right? That whether they say it or not, this is Earth 2310, I don't know, but there was something about this specific take on the character that I thought, I'm going to kind of keep it at an arm's distance, so that way it doesn't threaten my Batman. And it sucks that as DC fans, we get so possessive of these characters because they've been with us since we were children. But damn, was I surprised that coming out the end of this movie of how much I enjoyed the world that Matt Reeves has built, how interesting every character became on the screen. And I think I said that this is like the closest adaptation to an Arkham City video game come to life. As entrenched as I was into what made that story work, this seemed like that a lot. I'm still not sold on the cape and the cowl. It's a bit too bulbous for me. I hope that at the end of this journey that this Bruce is on, he reinvents himself as we find out narratively towards the end of this film. And I cannot wait to see what the next iteration of Batman is. But damn, did I have a really, really good time. Hashtag still restore the Snyderverse. But I like the fact that I have this alongside of it.
And that we'll get into that too, because that is the beauty of DC and Warner Brothers is they're not, it's a gift and a curse, right? The cohesive story might not be as strong as Marvel, and obviously one story being told to get to a particular point, but it gives you the flexibility of having a Peacemaker show, a DC Super Pets movie coming out later this summer. It's just like they have the opportunity to be different, right? Which separates them.
I think I read somewhere that this the Batman takes place on Earth too, so it's not technically it's not technically
our main
the DCE
canon.
But they're gonna dance around it. They're gonna dance around it so much, which is crazy. Like, just go out there, be bold. This is our Batman. So that way, it there's freedom in any other auteur to come aboard and say, I don't necessarily care for you to kind of have to find a way to make these fields connect. Let that be the MCU thing. But I don't see any reason why we don't have 4 Batman going on. I mean, this year alone, we had 3 Batman coming. We had 3 of them, and I'm pretty sure Batman's going to make a cameo inside of his animated form in the DC Superheroes film. So, like, it can be done.
Keanu Reeves is Batman.
Yeah, he got announced as Batman. Yeah,
he's voicing Batman.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Literally, you see KolbyMac, his live reaction of learning that Keanu Reeves is playing Batman.
But it's also weird though. I was gonna say it's also weird though, because even in the Batman movie, where you have the Leslie, I can't think of her name, playing Barbara Gordon.
Grace,
yeah. But like supposedly Michael Keaton is gonna be the Batman in that movie, but J.K. Simmons is gonna be Jim Gordon in that movie. So I'm like,
I can't.
Listen, Michael, if you think about it too hard, it's gonna hurt the brain. It's gonna hurt the brain.
No, literally, when you said that, the theme music from Loki just played in my head.
Variants all across the DC.
So I'm like, I don't get it. Like, what are they doing?
Well, they're gonna retcon everything in the Flash. That's
we'll
get into it. Yeah,
what the Flash does, and kind of bringing all that in. But I'm totally right there with you. Now, I personally, Batman, my favorite comic book character, so I was going in there with pretty high hopes, and being a fan of Matt Reeves, knowing that he can handle such a character study. I mean, the man made me care about an ape for 3 movies. I'm pretty sure he could make Bruce Wayne compelling and all the supporting cast members. So I was really excited for it. So that brings me to the question here, Amanda. When you open this film, again, this is Matt Reeves' Batman, right? We've seen the Adam West Batmans of the world and the shows in the 60s. We've seen Keaton's version of the Batman, with Tim Burton's funk on it. We've seen the Schumacher, kid-friendly, selling McDonald's toys, and of course, what Christopher Nolan did. They're all kind of distinct within their own generation, within their own decade. But when you introduce this new Batman, and in a way of, first and foremost, we open with the serial killer himself, the Riddler, which we can get into, Amanda. The opening scene, and again, I just saw it again for the second time, and you appreciate all the nuances in it. horror movie in the Batman film. I was hoping we get that, but not only did it deliver that, but I was legitimately creeped out with the Riddler in this opening scene, stalking the mayor and the way he violently kills the mayor. And then we'll get into the Batman's entrance. But this opening scene lets you know this ain't Adam West Batman. This ain't your Schumacher Batman. We're dealing with a detective noir murder mystery. Your thoughts on this opening sequence?
I felt like beyond invested in the Riddler right from the get-go, right from that scene. Reeves made some really strong choices. And like you said, it's a film noir. So the structure of this film is going to be completely different than what we've seen before. He really used those elements, all of those conventions extremely well, and he fused it with, comic book storyline. So I thought that was really impressive early on, but even like it felt like a prologue. It's like, we're going to introduce you to the Riddler, we're going to introduce you to this, and then later on, as we're going to get into it, there's a voiceover of with Bruce Wayne, which I thought that was really interesting to do that. So you're already getting into the mindset of the Riddler right off the bat, and what Gotham is, what's happening in Gotham. And there's this darkness, it's eerie, it's more psychological. You get that right off the cuff. And then there's camera choices where he's blurring out the lens, so you don't see the blow to the head. You don't see any of that. And you see like the weapon like flying across the room. Like those are genius choices, because you already know what's happening, so you don't have to see it. It's all in your head. So sometimes when you don't show anything, it's even more powerful, makes an impact in that case. And it's all psychological, and that's what made it brilliant, this opening. So I thought it was really strong. It sets the tone for the entire film, and I was glued to the Riddler right from there.
The Riddler, Michael. I mean, again, we're both horror fans, and I'm a big fan of Michael Myers, and we'll talk about the shape and comparing that to the Batman. But the Riddler, man, he is his own version of the Batman. He's stalking his prey. He finds a way into the mayor's house and hits him with the blow across the head, and ultimately takes him out and tapes him and gets the narrative started. But again, knowing that you're a fan of horror like I am, were you a little bit creeped out of the Riddler when you get introduced to him? And he is the opening credit scene. What would you think about that opening, man?
This was like the best opening 10 minutes of like any Batman movie.
I have to agree with you.
I loved it. And I was joking because I saw it with Fantastic Frankie, and I was joking with her like during the opening 10 minutes. I grabbed her arm and I was like, hold me, protect me, I'm scared. And she started laughing. But like, this is definitely not your Jim Carrey Riddler.
Batman.
Who was still great. We loved Jim.
Right. The tone of that film, for
There's
sure.
none of that. This is more of like the Hush version of the Riddler, and it shows like this character is scary, this character is demented, this character is super intelligent and not one to be messed with. And so I really enjoyed like the darkness of the overall like opening 10 minutes, and then just like getting into like the moments with like Batman and the narration with the fear and everything like that. Like, I loved all of that. Like, them looking at out in the darkness, like, I'm not everywhere. I can't be everywhere, but they think I am. They think I'm in every shadow. And that's like something that Batman leans into, the fear. And that's something that I really enjoyed that they focused on with the tone of this movie. Now, I will say, though, considering the horror elements of it and the darkness of it, because this is, I will say, the darkest and most intense Batman movie that we've gotten.
Yep.
I do kind of feel like the movie was hampered a little bit by not being rated R. Because even when like the Riddler was like literally bashing my man's head in with a trophy, and you saw like he had like a paper cut on, like there was barely any blood. Like jumping at the end, like Falcone got shot. There was no blood. I was like, where did he get shot? Is he dead? Because I don't see any blood anywhere. So I wish, and I also feel like it would have ramped up the level of fear factor, had they been allowed to make it more rated R.
And a bit neutered.
Yeah, and while I appreciate, and they've made it work with the PG-13 rater, but I think this movie would have been like my rating for it, and I think this movie would have worked way better had it been rated R. It's not even just about the F-bombs or cursing; it's just about the level of scare that you can inject. The scare that you can, like even the rat scene. I cut like. They cut away. I was like, I want to see like yeah.
Well, the kids are there. And speaking of kids, and again, to each their own.
I saw kids in the Suicide Squad.
I would say I don't understand. Like, I had a baby in my show today. I saw little 3-year-olds. Who is that, Daddy? And so listen, You can't always have the R, I guess, for the kids can somewhat enjoy it and have nightmares to their adults. But I wasn't too upset about the rated R, if I'm being honest with you, Mike. I don't feel like it completely took me out of it. Like, oh man, I wish there was just blood, splatter, brains, and all that. But I do understand what you're saying. And who knows? We talked about Zack Snyder getting his ultimate cut of his film. Maybe there's a rated R version of this film somewhere in the editing room that might come out. Down the
blood,
road.
Sex, gore, and magic. That's my
the
things I like about fantasy.
There you go, man. And they gave you a little bit of blood. But we got 40 people watching live, guys. Again, thank you for joining us on this Sunday discussion about the Batman. Again, if you can like, share, comment, and subscribe to these content creators, it would mean the world to me, as well as them. But Kolby, man, same question for you, man. Again, someone mentioned in the comments, this is Saw 7, The Crow. I'm thinking, Saw 7 and, Zodiac Killer. We're introduced
all those movies are rated R.
All rated R. Very much true. Very much true. But the fact that a comic book movie tried to play in those genres puts a smile on my face. That we're, Logan and the Dark Knights, we're getting there. We're getting there. But Kolby, your thoughts on, again, introducing us to the Riddler, stalking the mayor, and ultimately taking him out, a blow to the head, and just letting you all know the Riddler, he got riddled for you, but he also gonna kill you without hesitation.
Yeah. I mean, what a bold choice to have. There's such big shoes to fill, especially coming off the backs of a monstrous movement that is #Restore the Snyderverse. And to say, not only am I going to come in here and champion the story and the tale that I want to, I'm going to do it while kind of not seeing eye to eye one of the biggest movie stars of all time in Ben Affleck, who at the time was one of the biggest Batmans of all time. And to say, I want my principal villain to be in my first movie, the Riddler. And then you immediately think of Jim Carrey's Joel Schumacher's interpretation of like this kind of spandex wear. And don't get me wrong, for anybody that sit here and bagging on those films, we loved them as a kid, all right? I watched the hell out of them. They were so much fun. Okay, I still say Batman Forever, you want to know why it's fun? Because it's got Dick Grayson. You want to know why it's fun? Because it's got Kiss from a Rose. You want to know why it's fun? Because it's got Nicole Kidman.
It's top 5 for me.
No, I'm saying it's a really fun. Tommy Lee Jones, Drew Barrymore. Like,
hey, the cast was crazy.
The cast is great, right?
It's crazy.
Also, Val Kilmer's a great Bruce Wayne. Just wanted to put that in there. Anyways, just continue.
He's a really good Bruce Wayne. I don't think he's a great Batman, but he's a good Bruce Wayne. Harvey, I am Batman. It's just fun. It's fun. It's a joke. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a joke villain. And knowing that you get Paul Dano, I'm just like, all right, without even knowing where this is going to go, I know that there's a darkness that's good that he's going to be able to embrace.
Yes.
And I will say, I wasn't in love with like the visual interpretation of this kid. My man is wearing a GIMP mask. I don't care, you Army, Navy store, whatever. Like, it looks like a GIMP mask. This should not work. My man's, where's the cane with the question mark on it? You know what I'm saying? Like, where's his cane at? He is walking around with duct tape, dude. And like, it's somehow he makes it work. He's it's this ominous figure because all you hear is just the like, that's like, he's a serial killer. And then ultimately what makes a villain, right? Outside of what makes a hero is as good as the villain is. And I do believe this villain, while I'll get to my thoughts on if I was truly convinced of his convictions towards the end of the movie, like what he really, look at that. I don't know who just did it, but that was creepy as hell. But
the Riddler might be on the stream. I didn't let you all know. He might be visiting
the fact that
his followers.
I love that this movie takes the groundedness of what Nolan was doing with his trilogy, but doesn't really skip. Like, I still believe the biggest thing that I don't think we will ever get the translation of Batman the Animated Series on the big screen. This has come the closest. And that's what I find really impressive with this take on the Riddler. He's not wearing a blazer and black suit and just trying to like be a joke of a minute kind of guy. But he's definitely something that is really imposing, but not physically. Because this physical imposition is the Batman. And I found that to be brilliant.
And we'll talk about the ending, but there's still, just like there's growth for Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle becoming Catwoman, the Riddler didn't die. So we might get that more, as you mentioned, Kane and, different look, especially with his new best friend that we'll obviously get into. But we talked about the Riddler's intro and introducing us to the villain. Your film is just as good as your villain. I think the motives that the Riddler had and how that ties into the vengeance and hate, that's the theme throughout this entire film. But Michael, I want to start with you here, man. You touched on it a little bit earlier when we were talking about the opening, but just diving a little bit deeper. when you meet, I mentioned Michael Myers, and I always envisioned that what I loved about Michael Myers is he was this mythical figure who lives in the shadows. He goes by the shape, and he embraces that mantra. And when you meet the Batman for the first time, and you touched on it, he had the fear, the tool that he uses to have his victims or his targets, as he says, to think that he's always in the shadows. The guy robs the liquor store. The guys are spray painting, vandalizing the bank. They're fearful that the Batman is going to take them. But then we ultimately see the Batman walking up the stairs with those shoes on and just looking down at his enemies, just like, let's go. Your thoughts on introducing us to, again, we saw the trailer. They showed this was the thing that we saw in 2019 and throughout the campaign, but it still hit differently, literally hit differently when you see it in theaters. Your thoughts on us being introduced to the Batman?
Like I was saying, like I loved the opening 10 minutes. And also the thing about like leaning into the fear aspect of, because I always say like Batman could have been like a Yellow Lantern in terms of like his level of increasing fear and wanting fear in people. But like I really enjoy it because like when Batman first started, that's how he got a lot of his criminals. Like a lot of them thought he was a supernatural being, like he had powers. He was an actual man bat, like it was the myth and the urban legend of Batman. People didn't even know that he actually existed. They thought he was a myth. And so the way they opened it and did it where they kind of leaned into that, I love that. And then when you actually got to see him and like, and also the fact that Robert Pattinson is actually like 6'1", so he's like
very imposing.
And then plus with the boots he's got on, so it increases his height a little bit more. So like
the sound design throughout was just sick.
I agree. Like and the score, like I can't think of the guy's name. Yeah. The guy's doing this. That did the score.
Michael Giacchino.
Oh, Michael Giacchino, my friend.
But yeah, the music in this was incredible, and it turns out he's actually directing Werewolf by Night. Hopefully, he does the score as well over at Marvel because that'd be great.
Excited for him.
Yeah, like I loved like and also like this version of Batman, Robert Pattinson's Batman, Matt Reeves' Batman. This guy's reckless.
Oh yeah,
and I love that he's so reckless because this is year 2. From Batman. Like I would go out on a limb and say he hasn't even trained with Ra's al Ghul and everything like that yet, because you don't really see him doing like the ninja and the hiding in the shadows and all the parkour flips. He's like eating the bullets and just going in there ham. Yeah, just being stupidly reckless and angry. So, and also the thing I really loved about it's like it goes to show like this version of Bruce Wayne, this motherfucker needs therapy, and you don't really see that in all the other versions of Batman. Like this guy is unhinged, and you can kind of tell like he kind of likes the chaos a little bit, like he lives for it. And I see a lot of people even in the comments or like online that people have problems that you didn't really see a whole lot of Bruce Wayne in this movie. It was mostly
about that for sure.
Yeah, it was mostly Batman, but I like that because the movie is called The Batman, so we're gonna see more of Batman than Bruce Wayne. But also it shows like, and this is comic book accurate as well, Batman is who he really is. Bruce Wayne is the mask.
Yep.
And even Riddler kind of mentions that at the end. Like this is truly, you're talking about unmasking. Like when he's in the Bruce Wayne persona, that's him pretending, putting on a face. That's him pretending to be who he is. Like there was a moment in comics where Superman and Batman were holding the lasso of truth, and Wonder Woman asked them what's their true name, and Superman said Clark Kent, and Batman said I'm Batman. And that's the difference between the two. Where and I love that they really dialed into that in this movie, which is very different from all the other movies, where all the other movies it's Bruce Wayne putting on the Batman costume, but in this it's Batman putting on the Bruce Wayne costume. So he hasn't really learned to be the philanthropist, playboy, and all that stuff. So yeah, and that goes to with this opening sequence. So I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, well said, man. It'll be very interesting. I'm really excited to see him explore that version of Bruce Wayne if he gets to that level, which we'll get into that a little bit later. But again, tossing it to you, Amanda. Meeting the Batman and stepping on the scene, the fear tactic, him going against these 9 goons, taking on the bullets. They even say in the film, he's not afraid of death, right? He's already mastered that element of, what it means to put on this cowl and this suit for 2 years. He's consumed with the idea of Batman, but seeing it in action, Amanda, for the first time, and even seeing it 1,000 times in the trailers, did it still hit hard for you seeing him going against these goons and how ultimately how that scene played out?
Seeing that in context was just like on another level, especially on an IMAX screen. Everything just hit. Like Kolby said, like that sound design is just fantastic. You hear the bone crunches, you hear the steps like as he's coming down out of the shadows. Like it's just really well done, having everything like come together. But here's the thing is like, and Michael said it as well, and we'll touch upon him being Bruce Wayne. This from the very opening was that this is a Batman movie. And this is the first time where I actually felt like this is the Batman. And like, I'm not saying other iterations like previously didn't touch upon the fact that it's Batman, but for some reason, right from the opening, the narration, as I said before, you just lose yourself in the character, and that's the point of it. Like this is fully just him, and I didn't have an issue with just having like him in the Batman suit for like 80% of the film. Because that suit is mint. It looks so good, and it moves like there's such fluidity with it with his with the fight choreography as well.
Move his neck,
so,
unlike Bell and
yeah,
Batman
it's not
Begins.
like all stiff and everything, but
Yeah.
I like Michael said, he's reckless. He's going in for those punches. He's not holding back, and he's getting lost in this character. And I really love that. Again, setting the tone right from the beginning of what we're getting, and it's the Batman. It's not Bruce Wayne. So.
Well said. And Kolby, I want to get your thoughts on the Batman, but I want to switch gears just a little bit because I don't want to neglect a particular character that was highlighted beautifully in this film, and that's the character of Gotham City. Kolby, man, we see again, as Amanda touched on, it's October 31st as he's narrating the film, and the Gotham, it's dark, it's gritty, it's corrupt. There's so many layers and elements to it. So Kolby, again, your thoughts on obviously meeting the Batman, but also meeting Gotham City, Matt Reeves' version of Gotham City. Your thoughts on it?
Yo, it's dark, it's corrupt, and it's not Chicago.
Or Pittsburgh, like in Batman Rises.
Gotham has always been a character, and honestly, I think it's a villain unto itself, right? It's a city that's teeming with malevolence all around it. Yeah. Deep, seedy characters who live off of preying off of each other. And I think that the theme that Batman is an instrument, and he thinks he's supposed to be an instrument for vengeance. And at the end of it, he understands he has to completely transform himself to be an instrument of hope in a city that is hopeless, in a city that is literally torn down and flooded to the studs. Like, Gotham has always been really unique in the fact that how does this one man in a cape and a cowl go up against these super villains? Like, crocodiles and metahumans made from clay and actual bats. Like, that's what this city breeds. And it's his presence that almost antagonizes the little bit of like systemic organized crime, and then it evolves into something darker, more mysterious, more mystical even. And just seeing the fact that this is only year 2, and we see how absolutely gross this Gotham is, and how much of a revelation it is for our Batman to go through this. This particular screenplay, while it's not the greatest screenplay in regards to comic book movies, I love that it has room for this Batman, unlike in a lot of other films, even in Christopher Nolan's Batman, for him to be fully revealed. Like, yo, this is shocking, this revelation of not only what this city's present is, based off of where it came from in the past, but how his family and his lineage is all linked. And the beautiful thing is, for a lot of folks like us and the folks that are in the chat, is that we know where it's all going to go. And it gets us so excited and furthermore invested into this Gotham, which by the end of the film, you're like, well, what the hell happens now, right? Like, I don't know what happens. Like, this is something that's really, really big, but I'm excited for all the avenues that they can be able to go to.
Well said. And Amanda, tossing to you your thoughts on Gotham City, introducing us to the narration and seeing the darkness, the grittiness, crime 24/7, and very similar to what the Riddler did. Batman, his 2 years of fighting crime hasn't really done much. It's only maybe amplified it, right? We got this guy dressing around in a suit fighting crime. Well, hell, I can wear this and do that and kill this person, do that person. It's running wild. And, obviously we'll talk about the end of it and being a no man's land and just being, taken over by the waters. But your thoughts on being introduced to, again, this maybe underrated character of the film, that's Gotham City itself.
This is the best version of Gotham City, period, because it works in favor of the character and they work together so well. And I feel like Matt Reeves is the one director who kind of nailed Gotham and understood it, that it is its own character, and has all of these people, these characters, as Kolby said, you have the rogues gallery just sitting there waiting to creep out of the shadows, and then even the villains with Batman, they all work together. It's like a well-oiled machine to actually give character development to Bruce Wayne and to Batman. So I thought it was really well done. The production design was great. It felt like it was like very old, like, and it doesn't have to always look comic booky. You just have to understand that the city's old and it's decaying and it's broken. I think that's important too, to show that. So this is definitely the best version of Gotham for me.
I'm right up there with you. It's very distinct. And Michael, the same question to you. You know, again, talking about our DC fandom and loving DC, Metropolis and Atlantis and the Mascara. They're all they're so integral to who the characters are. And then seeing Gotham, the good, the bad. Well, not so much the good, but mostly the ugly in this film. But it speaks so highly to this world, the world building that Matt Reeves has kind of created, and knowing that we're going to be exploring this, and we'll talk about the future later in regards to the spinoffs and all that stuff. But your thoughts on the look, the feel, the grittiness of Gotham? Is that where you want to visit, Michael? On your
I was so going with that. This is something I was gonna say. I was like, I don't know if this is like a flex or something I should be ashamed of. I made a video about this on TikTok, but a lot of people don't know Gotham in the and they don't talk about it a whole lot, but it's been referenced a couple of times. But Gotham City is actually located in New Jersey, which is where I'm at.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
You want to fund Michael? He lives in Gotham. I'm so glad he was able to make it tonight because
I hear sirens right there. The bombs going off right now outside my apartment. But and I think about the line from Hamilton. It was like, well, yeah, everything's legal in New Jersey, and I'm like, yeah, Gotham City is located in New Jersey, so it makes sense. But I think this was the best version of Gotham, and I love not even just the production design, but the lighting design for Gotham, especially with a lot of the reds to emphasize the corruption and the deep-seated nature of Gotham City is probably the worst city in all of DC Comics. I don't understand why people live there. It's probably because the rent is super low.
Rent's
so
cheap,
I guess
no taxes. You can.
Well, when everything's flooded, you better it's got to be cheap, right?
Yeah.
They're probably paying $200 a month for a. So I'm I might have to live there too. I might just have to suck it up. Because I'm pretty sure Metropolis, you're paying way more money.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I love the fact that I don't think Metropolis is anywhere near here, and I like that. There's a part of me, granted.
Well, Metropolis is supposed to be across, you think about BVS. Yeah, you think about BVS. It's supposed to be across the river.
True, right? But in my mind, right? I grew up on the animated series, and then after that came Smallville, and I associate Smallville as being an hour or two away from Metropolis, and in no way do I believe that Smallville is an hour or 3 hours away from Gotham. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't feel right. Gotham always felt like New York to me. When I watched Batman 89 and Batman Returns, the Gothic motif that Tim Burton was going, that didn't feel anywhere close to Middle America. Metropolis I associate with Middle America because that's why I associate Kansas, the state of Kansas. It's Smallville, right? Is it Smallville, Kansas? Right?
Smallville is in Kansas,
Okay, cool. I do not associate Metropolis and Gotham with anywhere within a driving distance of that.
That's interesting. But again, we'll get more to Gotham because it definitely has its moment to shine later on in the film. But getting it more into this narrative and the characters and relationships, starting with you, Amanda, the chemistry between Jeffrey Wright and Rob Pattinson, which I think, we'll talk about Catwoman, which I thought was strong, but the chemistry between these two detectives on good cop, batshit crazy cop, and Batman. We see the trust that Gordon embodies in Batman, letting him into the crime scene. Again, going back to this detective noir, but just your thoughts on, Commissioner, or say at this point in the film, Lieutenant Gordon and Batman on the scene working together to figure out this mass murder in the Riddler.
I'm going to say God bless Jeffrey Wright for being a king because he's phenomenal in this. He's always great, but he's just so good in this. You could feel that he's obviously a young like a young Jim Gordon, and he's coming into his own as commissioner. I thought that was really great, and I loved his chemistry with Robert Pattinson. I felt the strongest points of the film were when they were doing detective work together, because it really felt like it gave me Seven vibes from Fincher, and it was more of like Morgan Freeman, Brad Pitt tandem, and like I
Somerset
really
Mills,
felt
yeah.
that. I really felt that, and that's what made it so strong. But also, like you said, it's the trust, it's the loyalty, and it's the respect between the two of them. And I don't want to say this, but like this is probably like my favorite Jim Gordon and like Bruce Wayne tandem. Like, no disrespect to Gary Oldman, whatever.
Yeah.
But like this actually felt like they're working together. Not that he's just calling him for like whatever. It's like no. Like they're working together, and that's what made it so much stronger. Because I didn't get that watching the Nolan trilogy for some reason. I didn't feel like they had a clear-cut relationship, for me anyway. I'm not bashing the Nolan trilogy, please. My God, I have my thoughts about it. But like in this case, it just felt different. It felt completely different. I'm going to keep saying that because that's why I loved it so much. It just felt refreshing. That pairing felt refreshing for me.
I agree. And I mean, you get a phenomenal actor. Again, this cast is ridiculous, but you get a phenomenal actor like a Jeffrey Wright, and obviously jumping ahead. But that scene between Batman and Gordon in the interrogation room, and just like it's just, I love it. I love it. Kolby, man, again, this chemistry between these two actors, was it something that stood out to you? Did it feel authentic? Does it make you interested in learning more about, Gordon with his spinoff series has been announced? But your thoughts on these two characters and how their chemistry kind of played throughout this narrative?
It's crazy how much we missed the entirety of year one, and it was a really interesting take to not have to give us that. And essentially, the audience is very much dependent upon our own universal knowledge of what we know of these characters in their previous iterations, and let that inform everything that's going forward. So the fact that we have true diversity casting, because we've always known Jim Gordon as a white man, and whatever the folks that kind of put up we don't even in no way does this man's identity depend upon his race at all. You take a fine actor, a world-class, just revered actor in Jeffrey Wright, and this is the reason why you cast him as Jim Gordon. In every media form that I've seen Jim Gordon and the Batman work together, probably outside of the animated series, this comes the closest to a true partnership. There is a respect that's owed to this Jim Gordon, where he's completely going against the rules by eliciting the help of a masked vigilante to help solve crimes. But it's like they all recognize that, hey, if Jim's cool with him, we just kind of got to be cool with him too. We don't like it. We just kind of got to be cool. There's a big, we know that this light is coming from somewhere, and we can easily try to figure it out. We just let Jim do his thing, because right now the Batman, there's a lot of other bigger problems, and obviously it shows even more of how much trust that Batman has in Jim, that he's not a part of the system, and that's why he respects him.
Yeah.
Sometimes he may be a little frustrated at his naivete, but I think Batman also recognizes that he's naive to how much of a cesspool Gotham and the GCPD really is. I believed it wholeheartedly, and I had no clue as much comedy would come from this film. It would come from Jim Gordon. I thought it was timed really, really well. And there's times where I thought that it may not have worked, and I looked around at the audience. I'm like, yo, it's playing really, really good.
I think of the thumb drive. This guy. Yeah.
This guy.
Yeah.
Yo,
it was funny.
It was really funny, man.
It was funny.
Now, I gotta be honest with you. My biggest detractor that I am of Jim Gordon is the wig. Outside of that, I'm good.
The wig was, it was got tips from Sam Jackson always. He made me need to learn.
Got tips from Tyler Perry, probably.
Tyler Perry wigs.
But Michael, besides the Tyler Perry wigs, your thoughts on Jeffrey Wright, the relationship between him and Batman? Again, I think the prequel series that was announced, which we'll talk a little bit about later, is supposed to be before year one, and maybe get an understanding of why he trusts Batman so much. But just either that, putting that aside, your thoughts on this relationship between Lieutenant Gordon and the Batman?
Everybody, I would say, in this movie brought their A game. They did not come to play, and Jeffrey Wright was top tier amongst them. Like his Jim Gordon was incredible. And the thing I loved about the relationship between Batman and Jim Gordon, like I think this is the first Batman movie where we really got to see Jim Gordon and Batman work as a cohesive unit, as opposed to like, yeah, there was some moments in the Nolan trilogy where Gordon was with Batman, like he let him drive the Batmobile. But for the most part, it's just like Jim Gordon turns on the bat signal, give the exposition, then Batman goes off. It's like, no, Jim Gordon was actually being a detective with Batman. He was out in the cut. He was out in the streets with Batman, being a cop. And that's something that I really enjoyed and really loved seeing that. And then I was like, hey, and he's black too. And we get to see him in the streets. Like, come on, representation. So yeah, I really enjoyed his version of Batman, his relationship with the two of them, and his relationship with like mitigating like Bruce Wayne and then also the cops, because there's so much corruption within the police department that they're the only two that can be trusted. And you also kind of see a moment where like Bruce or Batman thought he was getting betrayed by Jim Gordon, where Batman was like, you got to stop. And he was like, you too? And then, but then that's when Gordon whispered in his ears, like, we got to get you out of here. Basically like, yeah, no, motherfucker, not me too. But you got to know what you're like, you got to know how to play the game.
Got to read the room. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's also something I love. Like this Batman is still learning. Like even when he was getting chased by the cops and he went onto the roof, and he kind of like uses glider or whatever, and he like busts his ass. Like, it goes to show like this Batman is not perfect, and I love that because that's not something that we're used to seeing in a Batman.
The imperfections,
in any iteration of Batman, we always see him as the perfect, skilled, highly trained, skilled ninja. But it's like, no, this Batman's still kind of technically a kid. He's still learning. He's still, wetting his feet in the in the pool, proverbial pool or whatever. And I love that.
Love it as well. And the introductions are so key in this film, and it's so well handled. And there's another couple characters here that we get introduced to. So as the narrative kind of points out that we're seeing Commissioner Gordon, Lieutenant Gordon, and Batman working together. They figure out the thumb drive situation. They get the photos, finding out that the mayor was sleeping around. He wasn't as the family man that he led himself on to be. And this is where we get the introduction to this particular character, which again, when we saw him cast in this role, the makeup, if you wouldn't have never saw who was in it, you would have never known who this person was, which leads us to starting with you, Kolby. We go to the club now. They figure out the thumb drive, and we get this, do you know who I am? As Batman enters the club, and we meet this individual, the Penguin. Your thoughts, Kolby, on Colin Farrell as the Penguin, who was, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, was only in like 4 scenes, but the placement and the pacing in the film made it seem like he was in the narrative a lot more than what you probably would have imagined. But your thoughts on Mr. Colin Farrell playing Oz?
I mean, the man absolutely disappears into one of my favorite on-screen depictions, which is so wildly different from Batman Returns. I remember when I first moved out to LA, and I was like, yo, I'm gonna be one of these guys that dress up as like movie characters and like, work for tips and stuff like that. But I wanted to find somebody to get the makeup right so I can be essentially the Oswald Cobblepot, the short, stout, dead fish rotting from my, from my fangs and stuff like that. But this depiction reminds me so much of like what I love in Arkham City, where he is essentially not like the super villain like we've known him in the animated series and like other iterations of him. But he's like this really important cog to how the organized crime here works. He's essentially the number 2 to. I almost didn't realize that Carmine Falcone was going to be in this movie, but then it's like, yo, it makes so much sense, and this is going to be like how he just continues to just rise and rise and rise. And Colin Farrell, his entire filmography is so interesting. Like the ebbs and flows. Like, yo, this dude, I really thought. What was that movie that he played, Andre the Great? I thought that movie was going to kill his career. I really, really thought it was, but it didn't. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like it did not kill his career. And he's like had this renaissance. I mean, he has 2 films out this week, guys. This and After Yang, and he's fantastic in both of them. He completely disappears. And like, honestly, like I think right now, I mean, granted, it's still only 3 months in. He's in my 5 for Best Supporting Actor at the 2023 Oscars. Sorry.
Hey, he came in heavy hitters, and I mean we'll get to his spinoff series a little bit later.
Cool, sweetheart. Oh my
good.
God.
Oh, you live up to your expectations. Yeah, I mean, come on, it's just
I
Amanda.
got you. I mean, it's definitely from Jersey. Definitely from Jersey.
When we get the animated spinoff of this, we need Kolby to voice, Colin Farrell for that animation if he's not available to do so. But Amanda,
please, I know you're gonna find this video and stuff
yes,
like that. Whoever's gonna
probably
bring
watching
like the
live.
Spotify, audio drama of like whatever spinoff series, like just let me audition, okay? I'll do my best.
You heard it here. You heard it here. About Amanda again, taking us through the narrative of meeting, Mr. Oz, aka Penguin, played by Colin Farrell. I guess just to kind of put a spin on it, when you heard he was playing the character, because I think it was between, was it him and was it Jonah Hill or Seth Rogen? I think was it. I couldn't remember who was supposed to be who, but ultimately Colin Farrell gets the role. We hear that he wasn't going to be in it a lot, but then we get what we got with the film. Your thoughts on Colin Farrell as the Penguin?
Sorry, I was muted. So for me, I played the Telltale games, and that Oswald Cobblepot was low-key attractive. So I thought they got Colin Farrell. I was like, hey, that's good. We're gonna, Colin Farrell looking like that mobster. You know how I am with my mob bosses. So I was like, yeah, let's do this. And then they're like, there's gonna be prosthetics, and I was like, huh? I was like, what are you doing to that face? Like, why would you cover it up? I don't understand why they would do that. Besides the point, Colin Farrell's a phenomenal actor. I've loved him for years. So obviously he would put on a clinic with a supporting role like this. I was blown away by his performance. A, he's unrecognizable. B, he got lost in it. He had that little accent, even in which I'm assuming is a fat suit that he has on. He still has like those mannerisms. It was very like, I don't want to say Italian, but it felt very Italian coming from an Italian with the hand gestures. So I was just like, it felt like that. And that he was like Falcone's like right-hand man, I really loved, because then we have time to grow with the Penguin, and just to have him as like kingpin of the underground afterwards. I thought that was really awesome. But he stole every single scene he was in. He's one of the most memorable characters in this movie. So yeah, from going into it thinking that he was gonna be looking fine, which didn't happen, and then getting what we got, it was good. It was good. I still love him, but I can't wait to see more of him.
I agree. We'll get into what we hope to see with this series. But you mentioned that I was getting Tommy vibes, Joe Pesci from Goodfellas, in regards to trying to be, a made man and try to work his way up the ranks. And Tommy was a hothead, right, and got himself killed. But Michael, your thoughts on this performance here, and just kind of what was one of your favorite moments from the characters? Again, he wasn't in a lot, but he was very memorable.
I had to look up the Telltale version of the pen because I played it, but I was like, I don't remember him in the game. But yeah,
hold on, let me look this up. I've never played it.
I'm gonna have to pull it up. I
just looked it up. I was like, I don't remember seeing him, but yeah, I agree with that attractive. I was like, oh yeah,
damn,
right? Exactly. That's what I was saying. But yeah, like Colin Farrell, I didn't see Colin Farrell in this role. Like it was not Colin Farrell. It was Oswald Cobblepot. Like. He was completely unrecognizable in that role. Like he completely transformed. Something that Jared Leto thought he did with the Joker, but like he transformed, but it was transformed into a mess. So that he did transform, but it was garbage. But his Penguin definitely was not. Colin Farrell's Penguin was not garbage. Like his Penguin was incredible. And yeah, we didn't get a whole lot of him, but what we did get of him was great, and it makes me want to see more of him. And the thing I like is a lot, being that this is year 2 of Batman's Rogues Gallery, like this does take from the Long Halloween, a lot of elements from the Long Halloween comic book story, which is like Batman's last hurrah fighting like the mob before he transitioned into fighting like your traditional super villains. And so this version of Penguin, he's not the mob boss that we know, but I also like the fact that this Penguin isn't like the Danny DeVito Penguin, where he's literally like eating fish, like raw fish, and swimming and waddling, even though they kind of made him waddle towards the end when they tied him up, and he's like,
I love it. Oh my god.
But yeah, I love that this Penguin is the mob boss that we're used to seeing in comics. So yeah, I love his take. I'm actually kind of more excited to check out his show. The only thing though that kind of gets me nervous is like, because DC, it's like they don't know what they want. It's like once they get one hit, they want to try to go all in. So like first, Zack Snyder was doing the entire DC universe, but then they had one, you know, with like after Man of Steel came out, but then BVS, it was like, oh no, we're not doing that. We're gonna take it away from Zack Snyder. But then freaking James Gunn did the Suicide Squad. People liked it. We're like, okay, we're gonna give James Gunn all the prop. We're gonna have him do Peacemaker. We're gonna have him do this, and then yada yada. And then same thing with like Matt Reeves. Now Matt Reeves is doing the Batman. Now we're like getting 4 spinoffs of this Batman series. It's like, come on. So that's the only thing I'm a little worried about.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
Yeah, but yeah, but as far as his Penguin, like, I loved it. Like, again, Colin Farrell. Like, I didn't see Colin Farrell.
It was an incredible performance, and to your point, Michael, yes, I normally get nervous when they announce things before we even seen it, but I'm more of a, prove me. I'm more of a, what have you proved me something lately? And what they did with Peacemaker, because I was very questionable about why are we getting a Peacemaker show before, but to me at least, I know Amanda, Peacemaker wasn't your favorite. I think you came to enjoy it as some of the episodes went on, but for me it was a hit. So I'm hoping that Colin Farrell.
Oh no, yeah, Peacemaker was one of my favorite shows of the year. I'm just saying, like, so much. We're getting an Arkham series. We're getting an Arkham series. We're getting a Penguin series. We're getting a GCPD series, which I'm like, wasn't that the Gotham
Batverse
show?
series.
Yeah. So I'm like, is this a little bit too much Batman? Because then also like I kind of feel like even with an Arkham show, we're not going to see like the Joker or anything. Like they're probably going to save that for the movies.
Are we though? You never know. I mean, if Marvel has shown us something in the last year, the big actors are coming. I mean, TV pretty much is movies nowadays with the miniseries on Netflix and HBO. So I wouldn't put it past them. We'll save that. We'll put a pin in that and get to it a little bit later because I think there might be some opportunities to introduce some characters on the small screen before the big screen. But speaking of, so we talked about the Batman, Gordon, Pattinson introduced himself as the Batman. We just talked about the Penguin. Listen, Zoe Kravitz, I've been a fan for a while. High Fidelity, great show. Wish it wasn't canceled. She was great in Big Little Lies. She's, the Divergent series was okay. She did the best that she could. She, small role in Mad Max. This is her coming out party. I love Michelle Pfeiffer. I think she embodied what Tim Burton wanted to do with that film. She was a standout character to me, even more so than Batman himself. But listen, Zoe Kravitz, she oozes sex appeal. She oozes the mysterious nature of the character.
Have you seen her mother and her daddy?
I mean, come on. I mean, this is what Hollywood has birthed us with the Zoe Kravitz. But man, I'm gonna toss it to you first because I follow you on Twitter, and I know you were just, especially her pictures, her and Pattinson. This is the sexiest Batman, the sexiest Catwoman we've seen on screen. If you want to take the baton from there, Amanda, your thoughts on meeting Selina Kyle, her and her friend that she's trying to protect, which ties into her mother, and being a fan of keeping strays out of the street. Your thoughts on Zoe Kravitz as Selina Kyle, aka Catwoman?
This is god tier casting. I'm just gonna say that. This is like she can stand there and look like Selina Kyle, not say a word, and it's like, yeah, that's her. It's the same thing with Henry Cavill as Superman, and the same thing for me as Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne. So in this case, I thought she killed it. She had the right attitude. She was switching in and out of ways to charm people, then getting intel. She knew how to manipulate people. I thought her physicality. Yes. Oh my God, it was so good. I absolutely loved her chemistry with Robert Pattinson. I thought they were so strong together. Thank God they did that screen test and they vibed and it worked out. But she just killed it. She killed it. And like every look, the physicality, her just being like adorable at times, just standing there, even though she's menacing at the exact same time. Like I loved her fight choreography. I thought that was really strong as well. But she's my girl. Like I love her so much. And we finally got like a good version of her on screen that is working with the Batman. I think in this case, like the Bat and the Cat working together, not having Selina kind of sideline, you know what I mean? Like I feel like they were actually partners in this, and that they're both partners in Gotham, and I think that works extremely well moving forward as well. But that's the difference. It's very refreshing seeing the two of them work in tandem like that, and I really appreciated that.
I agree, and I love, and just to spice it up, to the question here for you, Mike, the narrative she got. It wasn't just throwing in, she's just a cat burglar just for the sake of, the corruption that Gotham got to her. It was huge. I did not expect her plot to be so integral. We'll talk about her dad and her relationship with her father, but just your general take, Mike, on Zoe Kravitz, her in the role. Do you want more? Was it what you wanted? Was it maybe a little disappointing? Your thoughts on Zoe Kravitz as Selina Kyle?
To throw in a reference from Daenerys Targaryen, first of her name and all the other names that she got, like, we need to bend the knee to the altar of Zoe Kravitz as Selina Kyle, Catwoman. Like, a big thing that I think is missing from the conversation that I see on Twitter and everywhere, like, everybody's debating, like, who's the best Batman? Is it Robert Pattinson, Christian Bale? Nobody's talking about Val Kilmer, but like Michael Keaton, et cetera, Adam West. Nobody, I don't hear anybody having the conversation of like, who's the definitive Catwoman? And that is Zoe Kravitz. Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman, Selina Kyle, is the one to beat. I love Michelle Pfeiffer, and I would say she's probably the second, she's probably second. But like, she is my Catwoman, and like, she was incredible. And the thing I loved about her story is, like, obviously we know Catwoman is typically portrayed by a white woman, but I love that when they made it Zoe Kravitz, that they added a level of commentary in her story when she was talking about, like, being, a black girl in a poor black girl in this world, coming from the world of crime and everything. Like, it's hard. It's not like being like, all these privileged white, mobsters, or, like Bruce Wayne or whatever, or Batman. And so I like that they injected that level of commentary, because 9 times out of 10, usually when they do end up doing like the race changes or whatever, they ignore a lot of commentary with that, because you change the race of a character, maybe the personality might not change, but there's a lot of little small nuances about it that does make it different. And I'm glad that they actually didn't ignore that. The only thing is that I didn't necessarily like, and it has nothing to do with like Zoe Kravitz's acting or anything like that. I kind of disagree, Amanda, in terms of like the relationship or whatever between Bruce and the Bat and Cat relationship. I feel like they didn't really go as much into it as I would have liked to. Like, there wasn't really much partnership between them. They had the moment in the club, and then all of a sudden she was like, she took the lenses out her eyes, and then it's like, oh, I'm not dealing with this anymore. Then we really didn't see her again. And then all of a sudden we saw her show up at the end, and then all of a sudden she's in love with him, that she kisses him. I wasn't a fan of like that, especially if like because there's kind of hints of like her and that girl that she was Annika, whatever, that they kind of hint at that they might have been in a relationship. And Zoe Kravitz even came out. Zoe Kravitz even came out and said she was bisexual. But I'm like, so what was the point of her saying that if she wasn't in a relationship with Annika? But I'm like, you literally just saw your dead girlfriend like 2 scenes ago, and all of a sudden you're already moving on and making out with Batman. Like, I didn't.
He has the power. No, I'm joking.
That I wasn't a fan, because I felt like that kid, like there wasn't really a buildup of that. Like, if we actually seen them in the cut working together, like literally together solving crimes, and then maybe that would have built up the chemistry and relationship between them, I would have been more of a fan of that. Maybe they, get together in part 2. But that's the only thing I didn't really like. That, like, they had great chemistry, Pattinson and Selina Kyle, but I think they moved too quickly to the Bat and Cat relationship aspect of it. So that's the only thing I wasn't really a fan of.
A little pushback. I do agree with you to a certain extent. I do think, because I think the one scene,
especially if that's her girlfriend, like that's the biggest thing.
Which, I mean, I guess they didn't really define that relationship. It was, she felt bad for. I think she saw a little bit of her and her friend and her mom, obviously being from the club. So I don't know if it was as romantic in that particular angle. But I will say, as far as that kissing scene, I thought the chemistry kind of had built up at that point, because at that point she told Bruce, or to her knowledge, the Batman, one of her most revealed things about who her father is, right? So they kind of have that moment there where she feels so working together with Batman so far that she felt so comfortable enough to relay that message and feeling like this is maybe a partner that I can take on Gotham and team up with. And Kolby, any thoughts on that, man?
Question, Mike, as the comic geek, I had no idea that Falcone was Selina Kyle's dad. Is that just like a Matt Reeves just went and ran with that, or is that something that is like derived into the comics?
They don't really, as far as I know, they never really gone into like Catwoman's backstory, as far as I know. So I think that's something that they did for the
they added.
Yeah,
okay.
they added.
Well,
I was
have you guys
shocked.
seen,
I was like, oh, okay.
Have you guys saw the animated the movie The Long Halloween? Because that was something that they introduced in that. Well, I don't want to spoil that, but that's something they introduced in that animated movie. So I don't know if Matt Reeves was working with the animators when they were shooting this film and took a little bit of that sprinkle, took a little bit, because that is a very interesting plot to add in there. But The Long Halloween, they added, that was something that was in that animated movie, which I do recommend to check out. It was really, really interesting, two-parter. But going back to, again, just kind of get into the narrative here with, obviously at this point, the Riddler has claimed 3 victims. We already got the mayor off the table. We got the Saw tree, the Saw torture with the rats, and now we got the DA missing, which brings us to the funeral scene, which we all saw, which kind of brings me into the narrative. Bruce Wayne. Now we touched on it, we hinted at it. It wasn't a Bruce Wayne origin story. It was more of the Batman and figuring who he is out, and that's who he's consumed with. So, Michael, because my initial reaction when I saw the film the first time, I was like, man, I'm always a fan, like you had talked about. Bruce Wayne's the mask, Batman's who he really is. And I was like, I can't distinguish the two in this film. I want them to be separate entities. And in the way Pattinson was given the direction, he's the same person. When he's interacting with people with Bruce Wayne, he's like almost not even a human. He doesn't even know how to talk to people, let alone interact with them in a normal sense, more or less being a playboy type of persona. So the second viewing, I appreciated it more, and I'll get more into my thoughts. But Michael, your thoughts on the Bruce Wayne portrayal, and obviously there's room to grow, but just how they presented it in this film.
Going back to what I was saying, like, yeah, I enjoyed it because it goes to show like he hasn't fully developed his Bruce Wayne persona yet. So like, even because at first when they released like pictures like this and he has like the emo hair and everything like that, I was like, who the hell is this? Like, this is not my Bruce Wayne. Like Bruce Wayne, this guy does not look like the suave, charismatic playboy. Yeah. And it's like
very pale,
but that makes sense. Yeah, very, not even just but I was like, and he looks completely unkempt. Like even when he's like in his suit and tie and everything like that, I was like, what is going on? But that's the story that they told. Like he's not there yet, and so I like that he's kind of awkward as Bruce Wayne because for the most part he has no intention of being Bruce Wayne. Like right. Even like Alfred even comment like you need to go out, you need to be seen. Like people need to see. Like even when he showed up at the funeral, everybody's shocked to see him. And then the mayor was like, "I've been trying to reach you for like months. Where are you?" So I do like that his Bruce Wayne is kind of still awkward. His Bruce Wayne is kind of developing because he hasn't learned to be Bruce Wayne yet. Yeah. So. And I like that, like really, and so because of that, this is kind of the first Batman movie where Batman Bruce Wayne has kind of had an arc where he starts in one place and ends in another. Like most of the Batman movies, he just like the movie is basically just about the plot, but Bruce Wayne starts and ends at the same place for the most part in most Batman iterations. But this one, he actually has an arc where he starts at one point with the vengeance and everything like that, and then learns later on that he can't be that anymore, and that's what we'll finally probably start to get to see the more Bruce Wayne persona develop. And so I enjoy how they took that character of Batman Bruce Wayne in this movie because it's very different. It's very different,
very much so. And well said, Michael. And again, we got 50 people watching live, which again we appreciate you tuning in. Again, make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to these wonderful people you all see on the screen now. But to that point, Michael, and toss it to you, Amanda. On my second rewatch, what I appreciated about the Bruce Wayne was the scenes that we got Bruce Wayne, and when we saw Bruce Wayne at the funeral, connecting with that kid who we'll talk about. I don't know if that kid's going to play any. Like that kid was very important to this film. Like the fact that he kept seeing that kid and he saved the kid. I don't know if we're seeing a future boy wonder or whatnot, but when you see Bruce Wayne in this film, and like Michael said, it's so pivotal to his growth as a person. Funeral scene, Alfred, who we'll talk about here in a second, addressing Falcone and his dad and his legacy. It's important when we saw Bruce Wayne versus, again, we normally see him, the Playboy Mansion, the sleeping, you go buying a boat and doing all this stuff, but the the scenes were very integral to who this Bruce Wayne is and him
Mhm.
learning and figuring stuff out and having an arc as a man. So your thoughts, your interpretation, pros, cons of this portrayal of Bruce Wayne.
At first, I like Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne. Of course, there wasn't enough of it, but I feel like they were showing more than telling us at this point. And then having that connection with that kid, he's kind of like we're seeing his pain through that kid, and that's good enough because we know his story. We don't have to see it anymore. His parents passed. We understand that. We don't have to see that whole thing all over again. And it was more like of an emotional impact because he connected with that kid. And I think that was really great to do that in this case. And I feel like you just see such a broken down Bruce Wayne, and he's trying to mend himself by playing the Batman, by taking on these jobs as the Batman and to clean up the corrupt city. He's trying to find his way in who he is. And by doing that, I feel like he's running away from Bruce Wayne. And then we're going to get into Alfred, but I'll say my thoughts about Alfred afterwards. But that's how I felt about it. And I really do think that Robert Pattinson is going to grow into this character. And again, how many times have we seen him as a playboy? That's all they've ever really shown him as. If you look any other film, and again, it's refreshing. Let me see a different side of Bruce. And that's why, in a way, this again is the perfect Batman movie. And I was really surprised with how much I liked it and how deep this was without saying too much.
Yeah. Well said. And Kolby, and also too, because I know Michael and Kolby, you guys have had your, inspiring actors, have done projects. I know, Kolby, you do a lot of, the voice acting and what have you, but just kind of talking about Robert Pattinson and his portrayal, but more so in the eyes, right? His eyes in this film spoke more volumes than some of the, actual dialogue that he was getting, which was fantastic, but it was all in the eyes with the performance and just the way he kind of carried himself. And again, as Bruce Wayne, still kind of, using Bruce Wayne and the mask and still carrying himself like Batman. But just your thoughts on his performance and again, how much he used his eyes and the less he said almost meant more in some of those scenes.
I love the contrast that with this interpretation, so many iterations of Bruce Wayne and Batman was all based on how the actor looks like in the cowl. And I think that was such the big focus. But then in this film, like you said, there's so much attention drawn to this man's eyes. And the fact that we get it from, he wears eye makeup and we have to see him with it on. That when he unmasks himself, there's still this kind of membrane of Batman. He can't completely take it off unless he has to physically take it off, right? I think it's really interesting the way that Robert Pattinson as an actor, and for the folks out there that have just been stunted to only see this man as what he did in Twilight, he was a child then. This is a grown man that's done so many films and given fantastic performances. I still to this day got no clue what High Life is about, but I love it. Okay? If anybody knows, get in the chat and tell me. I have no idea what High Life is about. He's good as an actor. The physical performance in the way that he moves, in the emotion that he emotes in his eyes. There's a twitch. When he's banging on the jail glass and stuff like that, you see the rage filled in it there. And he's got these really piercing eyes. It's striking. And the fact that I would love to see a Batman movie that doesn't even require dialogue. And it's just mood and music and cinematography. And I can believe this Batman in this world and completely understand the story because of the physical performance.
Yeah, it was something. And again, I don't even know if I'm left feeling this. Do you guys want to see the Playboy Bruce Wayne in the next film? Or do you, again, I don't want to see the recluse, but I'm just wondering if there's another side of it without being a Playboy per se.
There's probably a happy medium.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah.
As long as there's a balance. Honestly, I think maybe if he has the persona of the Playboy in front of people and then he goes back into his little corner when he's at home, I think that would be really cool to see that.
Because he's going to have to create distance from the two for his own sanity. And I wonder if in this sequel film, we see him truly struggle with that. Catwoman, even though was a romance, not traditional. There was no Kim Basinger. There was no Nicole Kidman. There was no Michelle Pfeiffer in this film that was written to be this kind of, not obstacle, but another hurdle that he had to cross. And it's like, I'm doing this to save the people, but also to save her. That's classic archetypes that we've matured past of needed. His focus was not, I got to save this girl too. No, this girl's in the way and she can help me do my job. She's more into me than I am into her. You know what I'm saying? I will say the sexiest Batman that I've ever seen was seeing Michael Keaton and Michelle Pfeiffer in Batman Returns. And in that holiday, like when they're talking about, I heard eating a mistletoe is deadly when you eat it. But a kiss is even deadlier when you mean it. Yo, bro, like that. I would love to see the dual. This is where he has yet to face the true duality and the complexion of being both. And I think being the Playboy is another mask that he wears on top of Bruce Wayne to separate the two. Because like I said, I was hearing a podcast earlier. Shout out to Next Best Picture. If somebody does hard work, I can guess who Batman is. You know what I'm saying? Like the way that he walked into that funeral, that guy looks like Batman. He walks like Batman. He looks miserable. It looks so unflashy. Like he smells like Batman.
Listen, if those twins weren't beaten so much throughout the film, it would have been pretty obvious when he says, "Do you know who I am as Batman?" And he comes back, 2 days later, "Do you know who I am?" Like, did someone just say that a couple nights ago? Are you Batman? But
but he's also Bruce. He's also Bruce Wayne, though. So it's like he's still a celebrity, especially within Gotham.
Exactly.
And I think that the way that Gotham will change, I don't know what the time jump is going to be, but like this city is going to go through a massive change. And I wonder what naturally he feels like the progression needs to be. If he needs to be a beacon for hope, matched by fear, okay, I need to change things up completely. And also, I love the fact that like in this film, right, with this particular Batman, the way that he carries himself, he's very egoist. And like I said, it's reckless. How does the weight of responsibility, the fact that the closest person that he's known, like he was hurt and there was nothing he could do about it. That scene was written so well because I felt like, is it going to kind of match up? He's going to get there right before, and the chick picks up it's too late.
It's already happened.
That was a wonderful. That was
so
for
good.
0.5 seconds. I thought, did they just kill Alfred in the first film? Is this not the Alfred that we were supposed to think?
What?
Is the maid going to be the Alfred moving forward? But there is a point you just mentioned, Kolby. We're obviously kind of jumping ahead to the end, but I think to your point of like seeing a new Gotham, I think they're going to need Bruce Wayne to maybe get some investors to help rebuild the city, and he's going to have to be that. I don't want to say playboy, but he's going to have to be a lot more enthusiastic and giving people to help out the city. So he's going to have to put on that suit and tie
and
to
also
say Gotham
to clear his family's name. He's going to have to rebrand themselves. So right now, the saying that they see is that his mother's family's crazy, right? His dad had his hand in some highly illegal stuff, and essentially he helped perpetuate, Carmine Falcone essentially owning the city for decades. Yeah. So I think he's going to take it upon himself to be the face of, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be called New Gotham. Just because, right? Like that's welcome to New Gotham. Going to be rebranded, the Wayne this, Wayne that, just to change the image of it. And I think it's going to be easier for him to hide behind the super mask of Playboy Bruce, that he could be able to like get on a different level to take care of a new enemy.
Well said, and kind of sticking on a theme with Bruce, but starting with you, Michael, Bruce and Alfred. Andy Serkis, great actor. Worked with Matt Reeves for the Planet of the Apes films. He's obviously we know him a lot for mocap, but he's a fantastic actor when he's not in mocap. But I don't know, seeing this film a second time, I appreciated the chemistry and the performance. I think we needed a little bit more, if I'm being honest with you. I think there was great scenes between the two, but I think we might have needed one or two more scenes with those two. But before I get into my thoughts, I want to toss to you, Michael, your thoughts on this relationship between Bruce and Alfred and Andy Serkis' portrayal. I think the bar is Michael Caine. Andy can obviously get to that point, but the bar is so high for me. I think of Alfred, I think of Michael Caine.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of gripes in terms of like this movie in and of itself, but what they did in a relationship between Bruce and Alfred is definitely one of them. Like, first of all, I feel like they didn't use Andy Serkis anywhere near enough so we could really get to know his
was
version.
He like shooting Venom too, or I don't know,
but like, we really didn't get to know this version of Alfred enough, especially with the line like, and this is why I kind of said, like, I don't even think he's trained with Ra's al Ghul or anything like that.
Yeah,
like Alfred mentioned, like
Alfred
he trained
him,
I taught you how to fight and everything. Like,
Mhm.
so that also leans into like the military background of Alfred. But also the thing
yeah.
also the thing I didn't like about, like, and granted, I get this is emo Batman and everything like that, but at the same time, I didn't like, there was barely a relationship. Like, oh, you're not my father, and like I was like, what are you, 12? Yeah. Like I didn't really like that. And then, like, obviously it wasn't until Alfred got into the explosion that finally Bruce went, it's like, no, daddy, don't die on me. Like, that's, and I mean, like, yeah, I wasn't a fan of that. Like, I like to see the close Bruce, like Bruce does treat Alfred like, you know, like he's a father figure and somebody that's like a confident. Like, I feel like he trusted Jim Gordon in this movie more than he trusted Alfred. And yeah, Alfred is the one that even knows his secret identity. Alfred is the one that helped him craft the Bat persona. Like, and yet, that relationship, I didn't really care for how they wrote it in this movie.
Yeah, and that's where, like I said, I think of the Michael Caine raising him since he was a kid and being more of that fatherly figure. But it sounds like this version, Alfred was maybe, you know, tough love. You know, this is how you got to be. I'm going to train you how to defend yourself. More so, like, I'm going to be that, you know, Michael Caine type of warmth that we got from that performance, which is, again, is different. You know, very different take. But Kolby, any gripes or praise that you have for Andy Serkis in this relationship that we got with Alfred and Bruce?
Like I said, I think it's fine. It's one of those things where I'm not going to get too caught up with, like, oh, how much he played with inside of the film. I mean, I'd love it. Yo, if this movie was 6 hours long, I'd watch every minute of it. But I know that, like, the ultimate focus of the story was the detective story. I guess I've gotten very used to Alfred being so much more than a butler. And essentially, like, in this movie, he was relegated to being like an accountant. Like, he was the home attendant and really was, like, rarely ever in the Batcave. And I kind of got, I mean, it's crazy. I didn't think it would happen, but, like, I got used to, you know, my Alfred inside of the Snyderverse and, like, him driving the Batjet and kind of, like, you know,
like more hands-on.
Like, yes, like, so much more. But once again, this is year 2. I think that after everything that happens, he's going to recognize that he himself needs to step up. That, hey, Bruce, you can't move the way you're moving, bro. Like, I can't let you do this alone. I can't let this be like a solo mission. I've got to be your partner in this just as much as this means to you. So I definitely see Andy Serkis. He's a phenomenal actor. I would love. He could easily play anything, to be honest with you. But, like,
could be a Hugo Strange if it was up to me.
Man,
love it.
Yo, that'd be dope. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. So I'm curious to see where it goes. But, like, you know, it's not my favorite Alfred.
Yeah.
And it's so hard for us to not think about rankings and comparisons and stuff like that, just because of how much this has been a part of our lives. But he's good, but he could have been greater.
Yeah.
And Shamir, I was gonna say sorry, but yeah, Shamir J kind of said it in the comments, like, yeah, Alfred nearly died, and the first thing Bruce brings up is, you lied to me, Alfred.
Like, that tough love. Alfred gave me something, I'm gonna give it right back to you. But that is a good point. But they eventually amended their relationship, and he is the most important person to him. But Amanda, your thoughts on this relationship? Again, room for growth, but just your initial reaction to seeing them two on screen.
Well, there wasn't enough, as we've been saying, and, like, I get that. For me, though, I kind of think the reason why this Bruce wasn't close with Alfred is because he spends all his time as Batman, and he grew a relationship with Gordon instead of Alfred, because I guess he treats it like he isn't his dad, and he's still not over everything that happened. And especially if he was giving him tough love, he doesn't look at him in that way. And maybe he was raised differently. It wasn't stern, and it wasn't a loving Alfred as much as, like, it's a different type of love maybe with their relationship. And that's the way I kind of looked at it after, like, sitting with it for a bit. I love that scene in the hospital. I think that was a clear, like, emotional connection that we needed to push it for the sequel. And honestly, I think that, like, Alfred's just going to be an anchor for him, and, like, to kind of bring him back. I know that's the whole point of Alfred. It's just, I think that hospital scene was really important. I really love the nice touch with the cufflinks as well. I thought that was really nice. We needed more of him. That's it. We just needed more of him. And I do think it's just because he's running away from Bruce Wayne. So hopefully that changes in part 2.
and I don't know if I'm making this up in my head, but I wonder if there's some type of resentment towards Alfred, because I almost took it as Alfred was almost the head of security for the Waynes, and he almost maybe blamed Alfred for the
Maybe.
loss of his family. I don't know if that was something they touched on.
yeah.
Again, if I'm just making that up in my head, but I wonder if that's some of that hatred like towards Alfred is just like
Yeah.
you wasn't responsible, but you also were there when my parents died, and I don't know, maybe that was a little bit of it. But again, I'm excited to see where that relationship goes. But there's one more character, very important character in this film that I want to touch on. This may be one of the most best action scenes of the film, and maybe one of the best car sequences I've seen in a very long time. Kolby, this thing here. Dom Toretto would be very pleased with this bad boy here. Your thoughts on not only the Batmobile, the look, the feel, the sound, the force, the velocity of it, but also just that scene. You know, at this point in the film, Batman and Gordon have figured out, okay, we need to get the Rat, which at this point I think is the Penguin, and he goes, does a drop, and we get the scene. Your thoughts on the Batmobile and the scene as a whole with this behemoth of a Batmobile?
Yo, every Batmobile is so. I remember getting the little Hot Wheels one from Batman 1989, and how different it looked like than anything we'd seen before. The little kind of like nose propeller on the front, the wings in the back, and then me envisioning like the fire blazing out the back of this.
Yeah.
Seeing this and then like seeing him kind of work on it before, but then really when he pulls it out, the damn Batmobile roars and screeches. Like it's crazy. I never in my wildest dreams, not because I was one of those folks that thought like, oh, here's the Batman, he's gonna sparkle. This Batman and his Batmobile is so intimidating. He does it purposely to say like, yo, listen, I'm gonna give you guys a head start. I'm going to rev up this engine, okay? I'm going to make my Batmobile roar, fall out real quick, and then I'm coming after your ass. And this thing is strong, just as intense as the Batmobile is in the Snyderverse, where literally it drives through a cruise ship or a cruise tanker, wherever, in Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
This one runs through like
a cinder block or something. Like a big old, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like it's that strong, right?
Yeah.
And I love how simple that, with all the tech that goes into this film, we don't ever really question, like, do we believe that he did this? Like, he's just down here doing, nobody knows about it. The only hint that we kind of get an idea of like how he was working with this is like, you know, you have Alfred's like, hey, the encounters are coming, bro. And they're asking a lot of questions. So we just know that he's down here just working and tweaking. And it was a really, really cool scene. I've heard some actually mixed reactions on how the scene played for folks. I liked it a lot. I thought it was really intense. I didn't find it like jarring to kind of understand where I was in, you know, relative to
it was
it.
cut beautifully.
I thought it was really, really cool. I can't wait to watch it in Dolby tomorrow, but like seeing it in IMAX, feeling that I may also want to experience this in 4DX if I can, just to kind of add that extra dimensional element.
Ooh,
Because
he got money. He got
I
money.
mean, the sound design is just so thrilling that I really want to be able to experience that, because like I believe that this Batman, out of all the Batmans, even Batfleck, I feel imposes the most dread and terror on the enemies that we've seen on screen.
Yeah, I agree. Michael, man, your thoughts on this car, this Batmobile, the scene itself with obviously Penguin, I got you coming.
Does it have a cool name yet? Because like we had the Crawler, right?
I don't. Yeah, just a muscle. Well, I know, and Mike, actually, and it's great to bring it to Mike because I know you read a lot of the comics. I know there's a prequel book.
I haven't read it.
Okay, because I think if I'm not mistaken, they said that Bruce was like he was a street racer, so it kind of makes sense that he kind of built it from scratch and why he's so good behind the wheel. Correct me if I'm wrong for those that may have read it, but your thoughts on the Batmobile?
I loved it. Like this scene, like Fast and Furious take notes. Like this was like an incredible car chase scene, and going to what you said, like it's almost like a horror movie vibes, where the car itself was like it seemed possessed.
Mm-hmm. And like Christine earlier.
Yeah, I've never seen that movie, but yeah, but I loved like that element of it where it's like. And then also like even like diving into like the Batman being the ninja part where he got shot and then all of a sudden you like the horror movie vibes where you shoot the villain. or you shoot the enemy and then you look back and he's gone. It's the same thing. Batman got shot, he's on the ground, then Penguin goes look and he's gone, and he's already in the Batmobile. I was like, how the fuck did he get all the way over there?
That's what I said.
Batman.
But it's because he's Batman. But like, yeah, the whole scene I thought was and then the sound. Like, I would like to go because my screener was like it wasn't even IMAX, it was like a regular theater. So like the sound wasn't all that good. The screen was also small. So I would like to see it again, and like especially like Dolby Cinema, because like the sound mixing and the score during that car chase. Like especially like when the Batman theme played after when Penguin was upside down and Batman came out fully menacing and that Batman score played dun dun dun. Like that whole thing was just nerdgasmic
cinema.
Yeah.
Amanda, did I get your thoughts on the Batmobile? Did you
I mean, I just echo everything that's been said, and I'm just gonna add that it looks sexy as hell. So there we go. That's all I'm gonna say.
I mean, come on.
I will say he's got to. I love the fact that now he's got a chance to kind of see what worked and what didn't. Regular bullets were penetrating that glass, bro. I need like the full on, like, give me the key. Like, I want the remember when the Batmobile and Returns armored up? How dope that looked when the motherfucker turned and then pivoted and went around. Yo, I like that. So I really hope that this whatever happens in the future, I think that this groundedness isn't overgrounded like in the Nolan films. I think there's still room to be able to do some fun things because like he's still a superhero, and I get there's a desire to almost make it feel like that this Batman can be in this world, but I don't necessarily. That's not the hero that I need nor I want on the big screen.
Yeah, my Batmobile is the Batmobile from the Arkham games. Like, I don't know if you played like Arkham.
Oh yeah.
That's what I want to see. Like
with the ejector seat and the
yeah. But it also kind of goes to show like, and that's what I like. Like, I mean, this is year 2. This is Batman still learning. Like, even his glider cape, like it just looked like a regular. It wasn't even his cape. It just looked like a regular, regular paragliding suit. So like, and then even with like the Batmobile or even Batman and the like he wasn't really using that many gadgets in this movie. He had the grappling hook, but we didn't really see any batarangs. He used like one smoke bomb. So hopefully
he had a little knife in his chest plate.
He's gonna recognize. So now we understand at the end of the movie he must use batarangs because he had one, and instead of using it as it was intended, he like jumped onto something to kind of cut it. No, bro, it's a batarang. You do it, and you would have avoided that whole fall. But okay.
So hopefully, as we get into more movies, we see like an evolution of the Batmobile, evolution of his suit, evolution of his gadgets, evolution of his parkour ninja, whatever, the Batman in the shadows, and hopefully we finally get the freaking Bat family, which is something I'm like. All these Batman movies we've gotten, and we never really got a proper Bat family. Like, come on, where the hell is Nightwing?
I know.
Hopefully coming sooner rather than later. Now we got Amanda for like another 10 more minutes or so before she has to head out. So I want to touch on just a couple plot points to get your thoughts, Amanda. Sure. The twists and turns of the film. You know, at the point of the film now, Bruce finds out about his parents. It's leaked out there, which again, Michael touched on the mental health aspect, which I love that they're maybe making it hereditary. That is maybe something that runs in the family, being dressed up as a bat at night, you know? So I love that element, but the Wayne's dirty laundry's out there. And then we come to find out that, you know, there might be, we don't know who killed Bruce's parents. That's still an unanswered question. So just kind of before we have you head out, Amanda, just your thoughts on how the narrative played and were there genuinely moments that you did not see coming, especially when it comes to the twist of the film.
I didn't expect them to kind of air the laundry out for Martha Wayne in that case. And I really enjoyed that the twists in this film, they were very subtle. It wasn't like, oh my God, shocking. And that comes with like the film noir conventions that were used properly and by the Riddler. So I thought that he was like kind of the puppet master in this case. But for me, when Bruce finds out in that moment, and then he's questioning who like killed his parents, in that moment, I got to give a shout out to my boy John Turturro, because his performance as Carmine Falcone was like chef's kiss for me, god tier mob boss for me. I wish we could see more of him, but he really, really did shine. And for me, I low-key thought that Falcone was like the real villain for Bruce Wayne versus the Riddler as the villain for the Batman. And that's kind of how I played with that, because he was trying to figure out who killed his parents with those like little moments there. So I thought that conversation between Bruce and Falcone was like awesome. And then Falcone doesn't give that, like, he doesn't give it away, obviously, but he does have that connection with the Waynes. But he tells his version of the truth, and if he believes him or not, and then he ties Maroni in it. I thought that it was just really well done, and those are like really simple twists that make Bruce Wayne grow as a character and not the Batman. So I thought those are really important. But like I said, it was simple. Those twists came at the right time during a 3-hour runtime. So I thought they were like placed properly. And yeah, John Turturro, man, got to give him a shout out because he was great. So.
And the fact that he wore glasses the whole time, he was a recluse himself. He has the secret daughter, the Maury moment. I am the father, and what that led to was also beautiful. But again, we got a couple more talking points.
He looked like Stan Lee a little bit. I was like, wait a minute.
Loki.
I was inspired by that. But we got a couple more talking points. But again, Amanda, I know you have a podcast to get geared up from and get all that stuff. So before we dive into just the third act, the Joker scene, the future of the DC, just the last one I want to have for you, Amanda, just what do you hope to see now moving forward? Of course, we'll get Michael's and Kolby thoughts on that. But just for you, because you got to head out. What do you want to see next? And just overall, the Batman exceeded expectations, met expectations, and just final thoughts on the film for you.
I'm really excited to see Barry Keoghan as the Joker. I thought that was really, really a great scene. And I hope we get to see him in the third movie, not necessarily the second. I think we got to build up to him. This exceeded my expectations. This is literally my favorite Batman movie. I really enjoyed it. And I'm hoping to see like Mr. Freeze maybe in the sequel, because I know Matt Reeves was talking about it. More Selina Kyle, Obbs, want the Bat Fam, as Michael said. But yeah, I'm just really impressed, and I can't wait to watch this again. I can't believe that I really like this Batman, and hopefully Robert Pattinson grows on me a bit more. I'm not sold, but like hopefully that happens for me.
There you go. Well said, Amanda. Well, again, it's always a pleasure. Again, we got Moon Knight coming up later this month, so hopefully we can talk about what Oscar Isaac got. Which, by the way, just completely side note, the cop Martinez, was it me or did he was a little bit like the poor man's Oscar Isaac at some point? I'm like, he looks like Oscar Isaac when he turned his head and something. Anyway, Amanda, we'll be talking more Oscar Isaac later this month. But it's always a pleasure seeing you. I'm so glad you're able to join us. And if you want to let the people know where you're going to be next, because you are always supporting your friends when it comes to streams and still putting out great content yourself. So where can the people find you and what's next for the people out there from Amanda?
Yeah, for sure. Well, this was a blast. I love talking about Marvel with all these fine gentlemen on this channel. So it's just great to be back all the time talking about DC and other movies like that. So please subscribe to each of them. They're so great, and follow them on socials. You guys can always follow me over at AMX NDA Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. You can check out my YouTube, Candid Cinema, and my website, candidxcinema.com. My Batman review is up right now. I have my top 5 live-action Batman movies, which is controversial, apparently, on my channel. So go check that out, and hopefully I'll be back soon.
Definitely. And before you leave, I want to hear one more hot take from you, Amanda. Out of these guys here, and we're going to get Michael and Kolby's a little bit later, but who's your Batman?
Benjamin Affleck, of course. He's my Batman forever. Gotta love him. He just played the dad so well, and I wanted to see more of that too. But always and forever, he has my heart. He walked out of the comics for me. So
there you go. Well, guys, Amanda, check her out. Links in the bio. She's going to be dropping her Turning Red review tomorrow, and of course, dropping other fire content for you all throughout the week. So, Amanda, it's always a pleasure. Be safe in Gotham.
Bye, man.
I will. Bye, guys.
Canada.
Peace, Queen.
Bye.
Take care. We're tossing it to you, Michael, going back a little bit to that narrative as far as the Thomas and Martha scenes. Was that something that you were kind of surprised by, finding out that Bruce's parents kind of dove into the corruption with having I don't know what Thomas was thinking. If you want a mob guy to scare someone, his way of scaring people was put him 6 feet under. So I don't know if Thomas Wayne was the brightest light bulb at that moment. But your thoughts on the twists and turns that the film gave us in this movie?
No, I loved like the angle that they put with Thomas and Martha, and then even finding out that Martha's, because this is not something from comics.
Right, she's an Arkham, right?
But yeah, she's an Arkham.
Yeah.
what? And then not
Why did you say that name?
Yeah. But then not only just that, but like her being in and out of mental institutions and everything like that. Like I loved that level of backstory injected into the story to show that the Waynes, their hands are not clean either. Especially like being a billionaire. Like if you're a billionaire, to amass that level of money takes some level of corruption. Like, so I like that they're not as perfect in the eyes of the public and even in Bruce's eyes as everyone thinks.
Right.
So I enjoyed that they added that level of commentary, which also adds more to Bruce's story, which now he has to be different than his parents were. And so yeah, I enjoyed that. So that was cool. And then it also makes me curious of what they're going to do with the Arkham series that's going on now that it connects directly to his mother.
Yeah. I mean, there's been the Easter eggs has been called out when we get the reveal and the hush moment and the reporter's name is Elliot and maybe tying into all the Thomas Elliot storyline or what have you. But Kolby, man, your thoughts on, again, when the film, a 3-hour-long film, is the detective noir thriller mystery, the mysterious elements as the tale unravels itself. Did it catch you by surprise when we learned about the Waynes?
Not too much, because like Michael had said, it's kind of to amass that much of a fortune, you got to have your hand in a lot of pots, and all those pots aren't going to be clean, you know? And I to think that, essentially the Waynes were saints and essentially like they were just kind of taken away. It felt a little bit too easy. Like, no, I kind of like this. And I like having our Bruce have to contend with an innate dark nature that is inside of him because of who his family is and how he combats that. It's those layers of characterization that I love. As an actor, I want to be able to peel back more and more and more and then have to confront and ask myself, how does this make me feel as Bruce Wayne? How does this change the way that I view all of these different people? Especially folks that are doing bad things. Are they doing it because they're truly bad people or because what they were predisposed to? I mean, you take the Riddler, where we get essentially his origin story of how he went from an orphanage, to where he is right now behind bars. I don't think it was to garner sympathy for him at all, which was great, because that could have been a misstep if that was the directorial goal, to try to drum up sympathy for him. This man, he's a serial killer. There's no sympathy, but I can get an explanation of why he feels so impassioned by this. Because as a villain, if I didn't believe his conviction of like why he was doing what he's doing, I more believe it than I don't. I think there's still room for that to have been settled, like in the end of it. But I love the biggest turn for me that like really made this a special film was the line that it said, "You are controlled violence," and he essentially used the Batman because he know that the Riddler's target was Carmine Falcone, but because of how insulated that man was and how reclusive he was, and knowing that the entire city he owns, and no one knew to what level. No, like he owns it all. He can move however he wants, but he never makes himself fully available. And the Riddler, smart enough, outsmarted Batman to say, the only person that I believe that can get to this man is the Batman. But if he has the entire city in his pocket, there's no justification for him to go after him. I need to create it. So I've got to lay the clues out to where I make Carmine his objective. Yeah. And he's going to get him, he's going to bring him into the light. And I said, oh, snap! Like, fantastic writing.
Yeah.
Say whatever you want about the other elements of the screenplay, but just knowing that clear objective was achieved.
Yeah. It was well done. I mean,
what did they say? I just looked it up, and I just looked it up to find. I was like, "Wait, is that?" And it's like, "Duh, I knew this already. Why am I having a brain fart?" But yeah, Martha being an Arkham is not a thing. Yeah, her maiden name is Kane, which is Cassandra Kane, Batwoman. That's how they're cousins. So yeah,
it's very interesting.
They made that up for the movie.
Which is a very interesting, again, to see that the Waynes and the Arkham's, two big families coming together, kind of old school style of marrying with wealth and having this, continuing to having the family legacy and their son being out to be Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, is very interesting. But one of the things that I know has been a talking point online is the third act. Starting with you, Michael, did you have any issues? Because I think what a lot of people were stating to a certain extent was it was so grounded. It was the detective noir, but then we go to this kind of spectacle CG type of scenes there. I personally loved it, especially on the second viewing. But your thoughts on how you wrap up the narrative with Bruce Wayne or Batman having to save Gotham in the way that he did with the whole flooding of Gotham and saving the mayor, saving the kid, and one of the best superhero or to say hero moments of him saving the people. But your thoughts on the third act?
Yeah, they always seem to go that way when it comes to comic book films. The big bombastic CG. Like I even go back to like Shang-Chi. Like I didn't want I wish it didn't end on the like I wanted to end on like a big kung fu battle with like him, his father, him, his dad, and even his sister like all fighting together without the dragons involved and everything like that. But in terms of like Batman, I didn't have a problem with the giant tsunami or whatever invading. My whole thing was I was like, what the fuck is Batman gonna do against a freaking damn explosion? Like he can't use a super breath. What just fell?
Super breath.
But yeah, he doesn't have super breath to freeze over the ice or whatever. I was like, what's going on? But also like that. But that happens in the comics. There's a comic called No Man's Land where Gotham is raptured by a giant earthquake, and Batman still has to deal with this. So I was just curious to see how they were going to write themselves out of this conundrum. Yeah. And so I didn't have a problem with the third act. The only thing in the third act that I had a problem with was like how they crafted and shot the moment where Batman goes on top of that scaffolding thing that was rife with electricity. And then they did like this. He looked over at like a Catwoman, and then he took off the little bat symbol, little bootleg batarang, and cut it. And then he did this like slow-mo fall of him going into the water.
Like he's dead.
Like he's about to die. And then literally he gets right back up. So I was like, so there was a little anticlimactic. So then what was the point of all that tension? Like maybe if they'd have did it better, if like we thought he took the brunt of the electricity, everybody thinks he's dead, and maybe like the citizens of Gotham bring him out of the water. Bring him up
like a very Spider-Man 2 moment.
Or something to where, or a moment where he doesn't get up at first. You think he is dead, and then eventually he gets up, but he got up like immediately. So I
thought that the serum maybe had something to do with him getting up so easily. Maybe,
but even still, like, give me some more attention than that.
Drama.
Like especially with the way they shot it. I was like, oh, so he's about to die. Then it's like literally for him to get back up. I was just like, yeah, me and my friend looked at each other like that was stupid. So that's the only biggest problem I had with the third act. It was that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like I said, and by the way, I know a lot of people are speculating the serum that he injected himself, or alluding to maybe being the Bane. Venom.
I think it's Venom, because why else is it green? At first, I was like, oh, that's adrenaline. Right. But I'm like, well, why is it green? Why is it green though? Yeah,
I totally agree.
His eyes turned like snake-like. You saw that? Like it was.
I didn't catch that part.
That's what it looked like. That's how I read it. Like it kind of turned snake-like a little bit.
Interesting. I mean, but the rage was there. But yeah, go ahead.
It was the third act. Third acts are always tough, right? I know where Matt Reeves wanted to end this film. I just think one of the biggest mistakes is the fact that the Riddler's in jail and not a part of this boss battle, right? What I would have loved is, and maybe like it's like that, the lust to not be compared to the Dark Knight is that we need to get the Riddler outside of jail. That his end goal, granted, was for real change, but the villain always essentially has to be selfish and like, well, the real change is cool and all. I'm not going to be locked up a part of this thing, right? I wanted to find a way where he essentially would force the people of Gotham to really contend with who they are, and with all the bad that I've done, now I'm asking even more of you to get me out. And what I need for you to do is that I'm going to have all of my little incels sent you with rifles that until I'm no longer behind bars, I will go ahead and have like the bars, but whatever riddle, essentially, where they make the hard decision. The new mayor has to make the hard decision of letting him out.
Right. Solving a riddle.
Exactly. Solving a riddle, right?
Answer.
And then I want to see a shot of him walking out and then essentially like punching out somebody, like, an official, whatever, and take the blazer, and then an incel draws like his particular thing on the back of the blazer. And then we kind of get that Arkham shot where it's just him at the back of the blazer, with a rifle in his hand, and like just how dope that would be, right? So that's how my writer mind kind of works. and then kind of have him be a part of that takeover at, that was really cool, Gotham Square Garden, right?
Yeah.
Because everything else, it just kind of feels like none of these people matter to him. And they're using single shot rifles instead of semi-automatic weapons and whatever. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it didn't not work. I just know for a fact that it could have worked better, but I was fine with it because ultimately the point of this end sequence is that it's no longer about strictly vengeance and fear, but the most important image that we see is him with the flare guiding people that typically would be afraid of him out from the darkness out into the light, and getting everybody at the top of this structure and helping them being lifted up to the sky. And we spent so much time of darkness in this film, and now we're experiencing, daylight, for a new beginning.
And also, not even just that, like going with that, something I also liked about the last act is it goes to show like Batman's actions aren't without consequences.
Yes.
Like his whole "I am vengeance" inspired the Riddler. It inspired all of these like white incel men thinking they're following in Batman's footsteps.
Right.
And quote unquote, because ultimately what Riddler tried to do wasn't like he was rooting out corruption.
Right. Just in a very
which was not like it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. But
it's a different coin of what Batman was doing. Just in a much
but
more violent way.
Yeah, it's literally what Batman's trying to do, but it's just a different way that he was going about doing it. And even the Riddler saying, like, this conversation isn't going the way I thought. Like, you inspired me. And so I actually liked that they went that route to show like, no, Batman is creating more problems than he's actually solving. And that kind of goes into like the whole dichotomy where they talk about a lot of like even they talked about in Avengers where they're like, ever since Iron Man put on the suit,
Vision,
when Vision said it's like, the threats have increased exponentially. So like people will always wonder, like ever since Batman, because Gotham was rife with corruption before Batman, but it wasn't filled with so many, not even just that, but like more and more supervillains started to crop up.
You're right.
Batman started to crop up. So I like that. Like him being Batman has consequences. And everything.
Snyder hinted at that, right? It's like, Earth was not a threat until these heroes came about and became on the radar of everybody in the universe. Like, what is this, right? I will say, please, folks, try your best not to compare this jail scene with the Dark Knight.
Interrogation
I know
room,
it's tough. I know it's super duper tough. I think I like the Dark Knight one a little bit better. But like, just let them kind of stand alone. It's gonna be hard. I challenge you because there's some really really cool things that are done on the fact that like the Riddler essentially was just like the much more violent version of Batman.
He took that extra step. Two great scenes. I mean, interrogation rooms and Batman go hand in hand, especially in the detective noir. You get a lot of reveals in those rooms. So, but I will say, as far as the third act, the one thing that especially on a second viewing, and let's jump right into the Joker conversation. I don't know if I needed that scene. I really don't know if I needed that. And I know Matt Reeves has confirmed he's IGN interviewed him. He said he was another scene with another interrogation room that the Batman paid a visit to Joker to profile the Riddler. There's a similar killer to you. I need your help on try to figuring things out. I would have much more preferred that, which apparently we're going to get a deleted scene of that when it was going to probably make its way online before the DVD or Blu-ray comes out. But I didn't need that Joker scene. Michael, are you in the same boat, or did you? No offense to Barry Keoghan, I just didn't need it.
I didn't need it either. And at first, I didn't know it was the Joker because he looked kind of like
Two-Face to me.
Yeah, I was like, "Is that Two-Face?"
Yeah.
But then he started laughing. I was like,
and said the clown.
They're doing the Joker already. I'm like, I don't need it because especially because how different this Batman movie was. Like, Batman has an extensive rogues gallery. Like, it's between him and Spider-Man. I would say they probably have the best rogues gallery in all the comics. And there's so many characters that we have not seen in a live action Batman movie. Like we've seen them in like auxiliary product, like Batwoman and
the DC animated universe,
and the Gotham show, and the DC animated. But it's like, I want to see other characters besides the Joker. I want to see Hugo Strange. I want to see Victor Zsasz. Like, especially like with the next Batman movie, like considering the Flood, I think a great villain to introduce is a more grounded version of Poison Ivy. Like,
or Killer Croc. I mean, it's like, who knows? There's like some.
I don't know if I want to see Killer.
Yeah,
y'all got BET. I don't know if I want to. But I want metahumans in this world. So like, I definitely think like Poison Ivy. Like, you literally flooded Gotham. Like, this would be the perfect opportunity to like introduce. But yeah, I didn't need the whole Barry Keoghan
story.
I didn't need
everybody.
And Greg, Barry Keoghan's getting his bag. He's Drew in the Turtles, and now he's the Joker. So that's why. But also, real quick about the final act. The one thing I also didn't like is the whole thing about Batman talking about changing his whole thing of saying like, now I need to be Hope. That's not Batman. Like Hope is Superman. So if anything, he should have said like, I no longer need to be vengeance. Vengeance doesn't work anymore. What I now need is justice, as opposed to hope. That's not Hope and Batman don't go together. So that's the only minor tweak that I would put. Like it should have been justice. That's more aligned with Batman as opposed to hope.
I mean, unless Matt Reeves, off the success of this film, which now has an estimated $130 million weekend debut, a little bit less than what initial estimates were, but it's still really, really great for it being, we're still in a pandemic, right? If Matt Reeves is given the license to kind of shepherd how this universe looks going forward in his vision, and that hope was more so in regards to like, hey, just know at the end of this next film, you're gonna get an appearance, from Clark Kent. Like literally, all we have at the end of it, hey, I'm just here. Like, if you're a story, what's your name? I'm Clark, and then cut, fade to black. Then it earns using that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's tough because really, this movie can be the Iron Man for a true connected universe if it wants to be. It doesn't need to be, but it really, really can be. We can have this trilogy, do the things, introduce all these different characters, and then very slowly and methodically pay off to introduce the other parts. Because like right now, I like the fact that this Gotham doesn't need a Superman across the bay. Like we understand that there's Green Lanterns out there in space, but like what's going on currently in Gotham is too small where it doesn't need a space cop. It's too small. It doesn't need a queen from Themyscira. It's too small. It doesn't need a speedster from California. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't need all of those things yet. But the fact that little hope is just like, this is your teaser for that. The same way that people are pulling from like the Hush and everything like that. Maybe that's what it is. Because you're right. Batman is not a signal of hope. Like he is of fear. When that light comes on, it is to strike fear in the people that are out there doing bad. And I think Gotham still needs that.
I personally, I'm okay with this non-meta world, if I'm being honest with you, because again,
but I feel like we've gotten that in like every Batman movie we've had a non-meta world. It's like, when are we going to finally get to see a comic book like Adam West, the freaking Dark Knight trilogy, which was more realistic? Batman 89. Like we've never really gotten a comic booky world for Batman, or even just a DC connected unit. Like a lot of people forget, like BVS, whether you loved it or hated it,
not a Batman movie.
Well, I'm not even talking about that, but I'm saying BVS is the first time that we've seen Batman and Superman or the DC Trinity together, despite Wonder Woman, despite Warner Brothers having the rights to these characters since the beginning. Like they should have been the MCU long before Marvel even started making their movies, because Marvel didn't. They're only just now got the rights to all of their characters now, and they still kind of don't have. They still kind of don't have the Hulk or Namor. That's still kind of tied. That's still kind of tied up with Universal. But Warner Brothers has always had the rights to these characters, and Batman and Superman are like, before Marvel did their movies, they were like the top two most recognizable Supermen, and it took until like 2016 to finally get a movie with them together, and now they're only they're going back to saying, oh, we're going to focus on standalone movies now. It's like, we don't want, like, clearly Marvel is working because of the shared universe. I still want to see Batman interact with the Superman, Batman interact with the Zatanna. We still haven't seen like Batman and Harley Quinn really interact. They're giving us all these auxiliary Bat properties where Batgirl exists in this universe, the Harley Quinn movie exists in this universe. Supposedly that Chris McKay was working on a Nightwing movie that was going to exist over in this universe. It's like, but I want to see a Bat universe, and I want to see like Justice League, Superman, like I want to see all of it interact, like Constantine.
And it can be done. It can be done. I don't know what these executives are so scared of, because like World's Finest, that 3-episode arc of the animated series when Batman Superman Adventures crossed over with the with the new Adventures of Batman, that was fantastic. Seeing these two, like I remember rewriting how BVS should have went. It should have been the story of Othello. essentially, where you have, these two opposing forces that are being used and manipulated against each other by Lex Luthor, because there's this romance that is building up between Bruce and between Lois Lane. Like, yo, I still want that. Because like Bruce Wayne is a straight up, like when he's Bruce Wayne, he's straight up playboy dickhead mode. And like, it's everything that Clark hates, and there's nothing he can do about it. And yet, like, I'll never forget when we were watching it, and like Superman goes up to like try to like punch him, and he stops dead in his tracks. Clark, and it's just like because Bruce Wayne, if he had superpowers, he knows for a fact that like Superman would have stand a chance, bro. He would have stood a chance. Like, I want to be able to see that. Like, give me the metahumans, man. I want to see the mysticism. We've already had the grounding.
Yeah.
I'm
throw Solomon Grundy in there. Like,
yes.
give me zombies.
Like, I'll be the one. I'm good on all this.
Because I'm like, we've had it already. If this is another grounded Batman universe, it's the Dark Knight all over again. We've already had that. Give me something new. Yeah. Give me a grounded, not ground. Like, obviously, I don't want a campy Uma Thurman version of Poison Ivy, but you can give me a grounded version of Poison Ivy, especially with all the climate change narratives and everything like that. And then also make her black Afro-Indigenous. That would be even better. Give me an Afro-Indigenous Poison Ivy. And then like, with it literally works with the whole flooding of Gotham and everything like that. Like, especially with the whole horror vibes, like we had Little Shop of Horrors. Like she could literally be a horror version of Audrey too. So like give it like
we'll see. Again, we know Batman right now. Matt Reeves has his own Batverse he can play with. We have Batgirl that might tie into Michael Keaton and he'd be the leader of the. So there's still, I guess, the beauty of the non-continuity is we could get that what you guys want. We can get a casting of another Batman in 2 years to play in that world or to be the DCEU Batman, because right now we don't have that with presumably that Ben Affleck's Batman is going to be killed off. So there's still room for that, but I'm fine with Matt Reeves not doing any metahuman stuff. Just for me personally, I don't even know if it would make sense with this world that he's established that we would have metahumans in this world. I think it would be just too shock to the system to have the Banes being 12 feet tall and all that stuff. So I'm okay with that, but we'll see what the executives do with DC. They tend
that's kind of how it started in the comic, though, right? Batman wasn't going against supervillains. He was fighting crime.
Progressively got to that.
Fighting mob bosses, and then eventually it became. And the same thing with Arrow. The Arrowverse, granted, it ended up being trash, but that's kind of how that started too. Like Green Arrow's mostly. It was a grounded world, but then it eventually it expanded. So I wouldn't mind like to see the expansion of the Bat universe.
Well, I mean, this brings up to the perfect wrapping up point, and it's starting with you, Kolby. Batman 2, which right now I don't know when we can expect it to get in production, when we can expect it to see it on screen. I think it's inevitable that we're going to get the announcement sooner rather than later. But what does a Matt Reeves Batman 2 look like via story, villains? Are we going to see the Joker be front and center? Are we going to see him be in a Penguin of a sense in the sequel, just kind of in the back, and maybe coming up in the third one? What would you like to see in a second Batman coming out in, I don't know, 3-4 years, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, so Batman 2025, right? I would love to not see the Joker. I would love to continue to see, what Colin Farrell does as Penguin, as a player inside of here. That he, like, the Batman kind of uses, like there's tension there and stuff like that, but he understands the cog that he is, and like I kind of need him to be not a rat, but to kind of I can muscle in on him to be able to get information I need to be able to take down a bigger threat. I think that right now I don't know how it happened with the end of this film, but I would love to be able to see the translation of the Quarter Owls and that be the primary story in the second one. Either that or Mr. Freeze. And yes, I've Kolby casted or fan casted who I would want to play Talon, and that would be Adam Driver. So if I can have him my way, give me that. Give me the Court of Owls. Let him further go down the rabbit hole of like how everything is fully intertwined. We thought that essentially, the flood was the worst, but there's even more that's coming.
Interesting. Michael, man, same with you, man, as far as this sequel goes. A villain that I know you mentioned a couple, Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy of the worlds, maybe the Hugo Strange, but we got the Joker. He's here. is that a character you want to see continue to be explored, or do you have some?
I don't want to see the Joker yet. They could wait till like Batman 4 or whatever before we get Barry Keoghan's Joker. But for me, I mean, I would like. I think it's too soon for the Court of Owls. Court of Owls is like Thanos level endgame.
Really? Okay.
For Batman, like,
and not Hush,
especially with. No, definitely not Hush, but especially considering the lore and the backstory of everything with the Court of Owls, how like they've been here this entire time, and Batman, the world's greatest detective, had absolutely no idea. Okay. I feel like they need to build up the world of Gotham a little bit more to pull that wool over our eyes to be like, we've been here this whole time, Hail Hydra, whatever. But like for me, I would like the second movie to be like the very first Arkham game, where it took place in Arkham Asylum. And make it lean more into the horror and aspect of and show that Batman's rogues gallery, his criminals, they could be campy, but they're fucking scary. They're psychotic. They're terrifying.
Make it the Raid.
I think that's what Batman Ben Affleck's script was supposed to dive into. Was was an Arkham assault on Arkham type of story.
Yeah, and Batman is like he's trapped in Arkham with all of his villains,
right,
or whatever.
Right.
You could throw all the balls to the wall. Like then you can still give us Barry Keoghan's Joker without him overtaking the whole thing. He can still be there, but over there, as opposed to like we can get all of it. And so that's something I would like to see. Or if not, give me Poison Ivy, like a more not campy version of Poison Ivy coming. Like, you ruined my city, you destroyed the plants.
Do you have a fan cast for her?
I don't have a fan cast. I just said somebody Afro-Indigenous, but yeah,
I like that.
I generally don't do fan casting because I'm not, I'm not in the. I don't know. We always don't know what an actor can bring until they, until they do it. Like, I always go back to the thing when like Grant Gustin was first cast The Flash. I was like, ew, Sebastian from Glee, like what the hell? And then like, granted, The Flash ended up being trash later on, but like, it's not because of him. Like
those first 4 seasons.
Those first. I would say the first three, more so first 2. 3 is when I started to see the cracks, but like season 4 was garbage.
I at some point, as the completist in me, will finish the Arrow and will finish the Flash. But I would say if I remember Poison Ivy, I like Rebecca Ferguson, or is she too old?
Rebecca Ferguson. Okay. Doctor Sleep and Mission Impossible 5 and the new one's coming out. Yeah, she's a great. Yeah, that's a pretty interesting pick. Very interesting pick. And someone mentioned it too, Zazie Beetz as Poison Ivy. I don't know if I've seen that side of her acting yet to play off that role.
If I get just like a intense kind of entanglement between Zazie Beetz and Zoe Kravitz, I'll lose my god.
That's also what I was gonna say. Like we got Harley Quinn, we now got Catwoman. Give me Gotham City Sirens. Like, give me that whole.
Oh, that was supposed to be. Yeah, that was announced.
So you heard
give me that whole.
Especially Lonnie Taylor-Joy as Harley in this universe.
Yeah, I saw that article of the day.
I don't know to believe it or not.
Yeah, and give me the Harley and Poison Ivy relationship. Come on.
Yeah, let's go. I'll take it. Give it all.
I like what you guys are saying. If I were to do a sequel to part 2 to this, I think the whole Arkham side that Michael mentioned is something interesting to explore, and maybe even having a Hugo Strange being kind of a part of that angle of it all, kind of more with the mental aspect. But I do want to see Bruce and Batman be pushed to his limits physically too. So I would love to see a physical presence a la Bane and The Dark Knight Rises. So again, I think Michael, you mentioned Hush. That would be a very interesting character to explore, especially with the little Easter eggs they threw out there. So yeah, physical presence.
It'd be a challenge for Reeves to play with the subgenre with this, right? Like we've got the horror noir.
Yeah.
I don't need to repeat the same tone in the second film. It can have an underlying tone of it still being a detective story of trying to figure out how did he get trapped in this? Like, who's the major players and like where is he ultimately getting to? Like I just think of like, well, now we got the Batman that's 7. Can I do a Batman that is the Raid movie?
We'll
I
see,
mean,
because I know
that would
he
be
like I said
so
he
dope.
didn't want to do the Ben Affleck script because it was more action heavy. I think he said it was like a James Bond-esque type of action flick. So I don't know if he wants to tackle that genre, but I would love to see a little bit more action in the sequel. But still giving us the psychological aspect. Someone even mentioned tackle mental health with the whole Arkham side of his mom's mental health issues. So that'll be interesting to explore. But listen, I hope
who would be the big bad in that? If that was the case,
if they were to go,
Scarecrow.
If they were to do what, the Arkham version?
Yeah,
it could be Hugo Strange.
That's what I would like to see Hugo come into the mix.
But is that a big bad?
It can be again. It could
like
be
he could be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shout out. I want Lakeith Stanfield as Scarecrow.
I know he was rumored. There was people who was fan casting him for the Joker for a bit, before obviously Barry got the role. But we'll see, man. There was and also too, I think we touched on it, but based on this film now, Michael, are you more excited or less excited for these two shows that have been announced? Colin Farrell's Penguin, Commissioner Gordon's, Gotham PD show. Are you more or less excited after seeing this movie now?
I mean, I'm excited to check it out, but at the same time, I'm still like, I don't need it. Yeah, I don't need it.
Kolby, you feeling the same, man? Do you need after this show? Do you want to see it, or are you still on Michael's boat? Just like, I'll check it out.
I got to be honest with you. Peacemaker changed my mind on these shows.
I was just about to say Peacemaker
really,
definitely
doing something. So
yeah,
why not? I think you give this 6 episodes and make it I don't care to know about how scarred he was as a child.
Right.
Give me an interesting goal that the Penguin is going after that doesn't necessarily rely on Batman and can be able to introduce me to the other parts of this world that sets up the threat going forward.
That's going to be so hard to tackle. How is Batman not going to be in the show? Where is he going to be at when the Penguin is?
I mean, but even with Peacemaker though, it was still different. It's still something we've never seen before. We've literally had shows like Gotham just went off the air. We're kind of getting that again with the Jim Gordon movie, except it's now connected to the movies as opposed. But it's almost literally the same thing. So it's that's why I'm I don't know if I need there's so many characters in the DC pen. We still haven't even got a fucking John Stewart Green Lantern.
Yeah. Long time. And
Diggle was supposed to say
Diggle.
Even the Green Lantern Corps movie that they announced. We haven't seen hide nor hair.
Well, I think they fan casted my man from American Horror Story, Finn.
They cast him as Guy Gardner. But that's the only thing we really heard from that movie. Or TV series. But it's
Greg Berlanti, that gets me nervous, especially when you guys mentioned the more Arrow got worse, the whole verse. I'm scared about Greg Berlanti, but maybe he learned his lesson. And it's not on CW.
He's officially cast, not fan cast, but he was officially cast. But we haven't heard anything from that movie, so that's why I'm I want to see more stuff from the DC universe besides more Batman shows, because DC is known for, even in the comics, always going all in on Batman but ignoring everybody else. So I want a Zatanna. Give me Zatanna. Give me
Zatanna. There's supposed to be the Dark Justice League. Guillermo del Toro.
Give me Midnighter and Apollo. I want
so many. Listen, I'll say I'm excited. I love Colin Farrell, and I think this is the whole Marvel thing. I think we talked about it too, Michael, when we were talking about Hawkeye. We know that Echo isn't going to be the only person on that show. It's going to be the Daredevil's going to jump in there, the Kingpin's going to jump in there. So I think the same could be said about Commissioner Gordon and a Penguin show. That is going to be, they're going to start building their universe and building the Rogues Gallery, especially with this whole spinoff of the Arkham series. So I think
Echo, I'm not even excited about Echo either. So
I'm not either. But
after what they did with her in Hawkeye, or what they didn't do with her in Hawkeye.
Yeah. And you know how I felt about how they handled Kingpin.
Yeah, just give me Daredevil season 4.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Well, listen, man, this film was 3 hours. We can go for another 3 hours. There's so much detail, so much to break down. But this is how we're going to wrap it all up. We're excited for the future of this character. We're excited for what Matt Reeves have to offer and these spinoffs. And DC, last little thing I have for you all. This is the year of DC. I really feel this. Michael, are you out of the next 3 films coming out, which has you more excited? That is Black Adam coming out in the summer, Flash in November, and Aquaman in December. Out of those 3 movies, which one are you most excited to see moving forward in 2022?
I would say the one I'm most excited for is Black Adam.
Same. You took my answer, bro. Yeah.
because
ready
like
for that.
it feels like it's gonna be great. Like especially like it also seems like, and I'm hoping they dive in because Black Adam's kind of more of an anti. Well, he started out as a villain. Now they kind of change him more as an anti-hero. But it would be cool to see The Rock play that version because for the most part, I don't think I've ever seen The Rock portray any level of villainy.
Well, wrestling he did. He was a
but I'm talking about in terms of movies.
A heel is a little bit different than villain because he essentially was the antagonist in Fast Five, but even that was not villain, you know.
Yeah. So I'm interested in seeing that, and then like I'm curious to see how it's going to connect to Shazam because I'm like I want to see Zachary Levi.
Michael,
like how's Zachary Levi
gonna? I don't see them in the same frame of a film. I don't. See it.
I don't see it. So I'm curious how that's going to work, but it has to, right? Because they literally got their powers from the same source.
Yeah.
He is Shazam's main villain. So there's no way they can't connect. So like, and honestly, the one I'm least excited for, I'm curious of how it's gonna work. But it's
Flash.
the Flash. It's the Flash. Like,
really, I'm actually that's the one I'm most excited for, only because I feel like that one is either like, I mean, one, it's in the can, and it just seems like once again, I've yet to find a direction of where the DCEU goes, and it feels like the function of that film is kind of like Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness to kind of like reorient things, but then literally after that film we have another film that still is in, like, it's weird. I keep saying hashtag restore the Snyderverse. The Snyderverse isn't going anywhere because the Snyderverse is still
within
Aquaman.
the narrative of DC.
We still have a third Wonder Woman movie coming, and like we had like it's weird. I don't know if the Suicide Squad, it kind of has something to do with Suicide Squad, and that was in the I don't know. So it's, I don't know.
It's hard.
But I also kind of feel like we don't need Flashpoint to reorient the DC. No. They already did it with it's literally a whole ass Batman universe that has nothing to do with the DCEU. They have a Batgirl movie that supposedly doesn't have anything to do with the DCEU. I don't know where Blue Beetle is going to fall into this equation.
Yeah.
But you know what? And it's okay because that's how comics were. Like they can be able to exist in
different flavor for everyone.
So it's like, we don't need and I also kind of feel like a Flashpoint movie to be the first Flash movie. I feel like it's too quick. Like I don't know anything about this version of the Flash for you to already talk about. Oh, we're gonna reboot his universe. What the fuck is his universe? I don't know anything about his universe to already do a Flashpoint. Like that's like if you jumped. The very first movie is Avengers Endgame or Infinity War when we haven't really gotten any build up. I feel like what they're doing with Flashpoint. They're like, okay, let's do Flashpoint. But it's like, but when have we gotten, like, we haven't even really seen Iris
any time with Barry.
Like, we haven't spent any time with Barry to just jump to Flashpoint. Like what made Flashpoint interesting was we've had years of the DC universe, so now we see like Aquaman and Wonder Woman fighting as enemies. And you're like, oh my god, or Superman as this emaciated man because he was caught by the government and deprived of sunlight, or Batman being Thomas Wayne as opposed to Bruce Wayne. We've had years with the comics that it made the story impactful. But like this DC universe is like all over the fucking place. Where if they change anything, it'd be like. If Michael Keaton turns out to be like Thomas Wayne or whatever, it'll be like, all right, whatever. Like, who cares? Like,
no love for Aquaman, gentlemen. No love for Aquaman.
I mean,
James Wan.
Like I said, I gave the first one. I gave the first one a 7 out of 10. Like, I think it's a good movie. There's parts of it that is very derivative, like action adventure films. But like, I think that like my guy, he's got charisma. Like, I think he's a well cast Aquaman. Like. That's cool. I have no idea where it's going to go. I think I need another trailer. I have to sell me. I'm going to watch the hell out of anything that happens. But it like also can exist in its own pocket universe of like it's just doing its own thing. Because I still don't know necessarily where the first Aquaman movie fit in the timeline of Justice League. And I kind of don't care. Let everything be independent.
Yeah.
Give me Batman Beyond. Let that exist in its own universe. Like
We'll see, man. Maybe the ramifications of Flash will bleed into the next Aquaman film. But I'm excited for Aquaman. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, James Wan to me hasn't had a bad movie. I know people were up and down against Malignant. Which, Michael, have you seen Malignant? I know you're a horror fan. Did you get a chance to see Malignant on HBO?
I started watching it, but then I got distracted and I never got to go back to it. So
being a horror fan that you are, especially with blood and all that.
I forgot.
Give it a watch.
But I will say, like what I did see, I was like, what the hell is this?
It's wacky. And I loved it, Michael. I'm telling you, I was a big fan.
But
of
yeah,
that.
I never got a chance to go back to it. But speaking of like, have you seen, to go off topic real quick? Have you seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre on Netflix?
Of course.
That shit was garbage.
Bottom of the barrel, just terrible.
That's all I keep hearing, and that's why.
Yeah, like I can wipe my ass and come up with a better picture than that. But I will say, the only thing that saved it for me was the ending. That kind of saved it for me a little bit.
Yeah, without giving too much away. Yeah, I agree.
Without giving too much. Yeah, but yeah, it was garbage. I just wanted to know what you thought about it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I think the future's bright. I think that we're gonna get maybe 4, and I'm very curious about Flash, like you guys said. I'm hoping that my man Andy Muschietti, who I think is a fantastic director, and Supergirl being introduced. I'm still hoping that they can bring Henry Cavill into the universe again and give him a good arc. And apparently, we're getting 2 more Batmans.
It's not happening.
So we'll see.
We need to just let it go. Let Henry Cavill go.
Stop it, Michael.
It's not happening.
Stop it.
It's not happening.
If I don't see The Rock versus
Henry
Cavill.
We had a whole DC fandom event.
They're just hiding them, Mike. That's all they're doing, man. They're keeping they're not revealing that Batman's
so
going
much.
to be
He's not coming out.
It breaks my heart, man. But we'll see. And Yaya, can't forget my man Yaya. I think he's gonna have a bigger role in Aquaman too. Amber Heard, unfortunately, still in that film, so we'll see what comes of that. But listen, we can go on and on and on.
Get Michael B. Jordan as Superman? Absolutely not.
Isn't he Superman? Or
I forgot what
or VOD.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
I think he's working on the movie, but I don't think he's like actually playing Superman.
Yeah, I don't think he's playing.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Michael B. Jordan is a good actor, but I think I'm getting a little bit too. He's attached to too much. He's a great actor, but we'll see. But listen, DC 2022 is coming. Peacemaker, this film. I'm hopeful for the rest of this year. But hey, this is the end of the Batman spoiler discussion. We had Amanda on earlier, blessing us with her opinion on the film and all that good stuff. Of course, we got Michael and Kolby here with us now. And listen, we got more and more DC and Marvel this year. Marvel with Doctor Strange and Black Panther and Thor, which is so crazy. We still haven't got a trailer for that film. It's coming out in 4 months. But listen, I'm so excited for what the future of these comic book characters have for us. So, Michael, starting with you, man, it's always a pleasure to see you. It's always a great time talking, whether it's DC or Marvel or talking horror. It's always a pleasure. And I look forward to having more conversations with you, my friend. So why don't you let the fine folks know what you got coming in? I know you have another Batman discussion coming tomorrow on your platform.
Yes, I do. So real quick, I will say, because you did ask Amanda, so I want to jump on this too. Out of all the Batmen,
right. Yes.
Yeah, I will say, like, as of right now, Ben Affleck is still my number one, kinda. But I could definitely see Robert Pattinson taking, especially as he has more time, because we're not getting any more Ben Affleck. So as we're gonna get more time to see him grow and learn in the role, I can definitely see him taking over as my favorite Batman. But in terms of like my favorite single Batman movies, this is probably my favorite singular Batman movie. I can't completely compare it to the Dark Knight trilogy because it's a whole trilogy.
Right.
But just, I would say the Batman versus like Batman Begins. I like the Batman more. So yeah, so that answers that. But as far as what I got coming up, Elliot, I always enjoy coming on the stream live with you. So thank you so much. Tomorrow on my own channel, Black Gay Comic Geek, at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll be going live with my friends Fantastic Frankie and Ron from You Don't Read Comics, and we'll be talking spoilers for the Batman. I know you guys heard my opinion here, but you didn't hear my opinion with those two. So if you're interested, come pull up at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, the Black Gay Comic Geek channel. As far as anything else, Turner Red is coming out next week. Like I said, I wasn't a responsible content creator and watched it when I got the screener, so I got to wait when it comes out on Disney Plus. And then, of course, Moon Knight is coming out at the end of the month. So definitely be reviewing every single episode for that. And just follow me on TikTok, where I just be giving my general commentary, nerd commentary and everything like that. It's Women's History Month. So I'll be talking about women contributions in comics and, talking about female superheroes that I love. And of course, always talking about the straight agenda in comics and down with the straight agenda. And so, everybody's welcome in my safe haven. So check me out. And that's pretty much it.
You heard it here. Check them out. And tomorrow I'm gonna definitely try to pop in and go in the chat and here because I love when you and Frankie and Ron have you guys' discussion. It's always a good time. Are you guys gonna be? Because I know the last time you guys did live, it was in person, which was so cool to see. Are you guys doing it in person again, or is it gonna be?
No, we had terrible audio issues when so no, it's gonna be all of us in our the comforts of
Okay, well, it's always a fun time with y'all, so I'm looking forward to watching that tomorrow. But Kolby, man, again, it's always a pleasure. The energy, the knowledge you drop, the energy you have is just fantastic, man. I can't wait to have more of these discussions with you this year, my friend. So if you want to let the fine folks at home know what you got coming up and where they can find you, man, the stage is yours.
Yeah, once again, if you're not following your boy, you could do so on all the socials at Kolby Told Me, KolbyTold Me. When I write, it's going to be at mreportpod.com. Listen to the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, like it, share, review it. Report Pod, Minority Report Film Podcast. We need to drop an episode pretty soon. Sundance took a lot out of us, and there's still new episodes that we just released, kind of get into that content. I am prepping up to go to Austin, Texas this week for the South by Southwest Film Festival. Really happy to be covering that for the outlet. So yeah, just follow all of my coverage there at MReportPod on Twitter and Instagram, or at Kolby Told Me. How about at both? So when they ask you where you heard it from, you can tell them Kolby Told Me.
Also, Kolby, who's your Batman and favorite movie?
Okay, my definitive Batman live action is Ben Affleck. My definitive Batman altogether, Kevin Conroy, the animated series. Favorite singular movie still remains The Dark Knight, but I do have the Batman, Matt Reeves, the Batman with a close number 2.
Very, very nice list. I love it. This has been fun. This has been so much fun. I can't believe DC, again, it's still kind of confusing, but at least they have, the solo outings have been working out so far for them. And I hope this is just a jumping board for more of this type of creative. Yeah, definitely. Give the creators their vision. Don't interrupt and let them do what they pitched you. So, listen, DC, you're doing some right things. Let's keep it up.
I was going to say, wait, we can't go yet. We got to get yours now. We didn't get yours.
Don't be slick now.
He tried to dip without giving an answer.
It's so hard with me because 83 years of this character. There's so many iterations. But as far as live action goes, man, I gotta go. It's a little bit of Affleck and a little bit of Bale for me, for different reasons. And then as far as best Batman film, it's still The Dark Knight for me. Who knows what the future looks like when I see this film, live with the film, pick up all the stuff I love. But it's still The Dark Knight for me is the best Batman movie that we've seen as far as a film goes. So there you have it. There you have it, guys. So again, for myself, Michael, Kolby, and Amanda, check out their content. Links in the bio. We will be having more discussions this month with Marvel projects. There's some horror films coming out this month from A24, and of course Netflix is dropping something every single week. So keep an eye out for all that content. This has been fun, guys. Hope you enjoyed yourself. Again, before you leave, like, share, comment, subscribe to us. Do the same on the replay. It'll be much appreciated. You guys be safe out there and, be like Batman and be a good citizen without, murdering people, killing people like the Riddler. So you guys have a good rest of your night and we'll catch you